It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Great panel for you. Christina Warren is here. She's got a new job. Maybe we can find out what she's up to. Shoshana Weissman from R Street. She just wrote a piece on age verification and why it's a terrible idea. And Dan Patterson, whose company specializes in disinforming disinformation. Does that make sense? We will talk about an amazing week in AI, not just DeepSeek, but new models from OpenAI. The breakdown of government websites, 8,000 websites and counting, disappearing from the internet. And 23andMe is about to sell your spit. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 1017, recorded Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. Yellow-Bellied Marmots. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show we cover the week's tech news, which is mostly AI this week, but that's all right because we got a panel that can handle the tough stuff. Shoshana Weissman is here from R Street. Great to see the chairman of the Sloth Committee in person. That's not a sloth, that's a marmot.
Yeah. Thank you for having me and my marmot.
Oh, are you now the chairman of the Marmot Committee?
No, but I've taken them up as an interest. Look how fat it is.
Oh,
They're
marmots
so
are
cute.
wonderful. They move faster than sloths, but not much.
I mean, not when they're this chonky, but they can move fast other times.
They're all chonky. You know they have iron butts. Did you know that?
They have iron butts.
They're a problem in Australia because they roll up when they're scared, and they roll up on the highway, and you hit them, and it's really like hitting iron. Because
Marmots?
They dive into their holes and they leave their butt. This is not a nature show, but thank you. I have some interest in marmots as well, apparently. Dan Patterson is also here. He's director of content at Blackbird AI, a regular writer at ZDNet. It's great to see you, Dr. Dan.
You too, but keep going about the marmots. I mean, this is like the best start of a show ever.
I don't really know if that's... I thought we'd be talking AI. I didn't expect
I'm not
marmots.
being sarcastic.
Yeah. No, they're amazing animals. Yeah. But that's for another time.
I do the same thing when I'm scared.
Yeah, roll up and stick your head in your hole and stick your butt out. And that way you'll never get hurt, I guess.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Christina Warren's here with no job. Hi, Christina. But she is living in the Simpsons house, so that's okay.
I am. I'm in Springfield. And
almost every state has a Springfield.
I know. I think that's one of the brilliant things about them, choosing that as the name of the town, because for so long, people are like, well, where does this take place? And it's well, it could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere. There is also, I mean, this is incidental, but there's also a LaPorte in most states. Did you know that?
No.
I think it's because Mr. LaPorte got around. Many years ago, my ancestors, I think he was a trapper, a fur trapper, but he got around.
Did he trap marmots?
I certainly hope not. I don't think the marmot fur really makes for much of a coat.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Yeah. I have a picture of a marmot that I took. I know. What are we doing here? Why are we here? What is going on? I was in Tasmania on a photo shoot expedition with some really good photographers. And for some reason, I decided to lie in the grass. And a marmot came trundling toward me. And I didn't really know if they were dangerous or not. So I said, help. And they just laughed. I don't know if I could find it. It's buried somewhere.
I love that.
It's buried somewhere in my my pictures. But yeah, before the show's over, I will share this is a little tease to keep you all watching. I will share my marmot photo with you. Okay, enough. Let's talk AI. Much more interesting. 6 takeaways from a monumental week for AI from the Wall Street Journal. Guess what? All 6 of them were about DeepSeek, the Chinese AI, which has really kind of rocked the stock market, rocked NVIDIA. DeepSeek claims, we don't know. Actually, I'd be curious what you know, Dan, covering AI and all this. They claim that they trained their model for a mere $6 million with an M. And it's very efficient. And they, because of the export restrictions, weren't using the latest NVIDIA cards, didn't need to. And this, of course, tanked NVIDIA's stock. It was the world's most valuable company the week before. Went down 17% Monday and has been going down all week. $1 trillion worth of stock market value gone. It did start to recover towards the end of the week. But we don't really know what DeepSeek cost. I mean, we just know what they say. What do you think, Dan?
Well, I think, as a reporter and as somebody who works in AI, I don't know anything more than anyone else.
Yeah, we don't.
I do think opacity is the story here, right? Like this launched onto the market so quickly. It was so disruptive, and we know so little about it, but it had so many great knock-on effects that it's almost impossible to look away.
Yeah. Then, of course, OpenAI, in the funniest reaction ever, said they stole our stuff from our model. They copied us, which, of course, is funny because OpenAI basically copied everybody else. They copied the internet in order to train their model. DeepSeek apparently used a technique called distillation, which is training your AI model by asking another AI model questions and learning from its answers. And of course, you could do that at great speed if you're both AIs. And DeepSeek said it distilled from an open source model from Meta, Llama 2, and from one of its own. But OpenAI said, we're looking at indications DeepSeek used us for distillation as well. So what? Is my reaction. Like, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
I think it's so interesting that we didn't know anything. I mean, we didn't really anticipate this product happening but we could have certainly anticipated this event happening and the AI bubble taking a hit like this. But there are so many fantastic questions that this opens. I mean, was it trained for so little? If that is the case, then what are the implications for all of these models and companies seeking billions, if not trillions of dollars?
Yeah. I'm also not sure it hurts us. In fact, Sam Altman had an interesting tweet. He kind of said OpenAI has been on the wrong side of technology. It was an odd thing to say. He says, I personally think we need to figure out a different open source strategy. OpenAI has been on the wrong side of history when it comes to open sourcing its technologies. It's hysterical. Well, not hysterical, but it's interesting to note that OpenAI was founded specifically to be open, hence the name.
Hence the name.
And that eventually, I think they realized it was going to cost a lot more to train these models, and they created a kind of a for-profit, and they hid the weights, which it was basically became a proprietary closed development. He said, not everybody at OpenAI shares my view, but it's also not our current highest priority, being open. We will produce better models going forward, but we will maintain less of a lead than we did in previous years. I guess it's funny because there really isn't much to say, is there? It's like, okay.
It's interesting messaging. I mean, they could have been defensive and they could have been opaque themselves. They could have been aggressive, but instead it seemed to be a fairly conciliatory. And
yeah,
I mean, I would call it a smart comms response.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good comms response.
I don't know if they're sincere or not, but it's a smart response.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do wonder, though, it does seem to go a little bit against the other reporting, which is that they think that, they stole their research or their data, right? So it's like, so which is it, right? Like, I think that it's a conciliatory response. It's a good response. I think that being defensive about this wouldn't be good. But at the same time, you say this right after, there are reports going, oh, well, we're going to look into how do they do this, because this was clearly using, our inference or data or whatever the case may be, which how anyone's ever going to prove this. And how you would, even if you could prove it, how that would change anything at this point, I think is a very open question. So, but it's not a bad response. I think that it would look a lot worse if you came out and you said you either tried to diminish what the technology actually was and what the breakthroughs have been, and we don't know how much this costs. We only know what they say it costs, and that could absolutely be false. But we do know that this is something that seemed to come out of nowhere. That even compared with what we saw with R1 versus what we saw at Christmas, a massive improvement, and definitely from a cost perspective, is already making the other companies alter some of their strategies, which is
fine.
Which is fine, right?
This is what you want. You want competition. You want back and forth. You don't want to operate on disinformation. And of course, the Chinese government might indeed have incentive to destabilize our stock market and NVIDIA's stock price, given the sanctions against it.
Sure. I mean, and to that point, that's why my one kind of question about this, and a lot of the most important kind of data we got from this was from Scales kind of benchmarks, which just kind of showed how good it was, in addition to just anybody using it themselves and seeing, hey, wow, we're getting really good results, and we can do these things incredibly cheaply on local hardware even. But one of my questions is, okay, they claim that we were, and this is a very common Chinese government tactic, and from Chinese companies to say, oh, we did all this ourselves and we didn't use any of your stuff. And we know they did use some NVIDIA chips. We don't know how many. I have no basis of knowledge for this at all. I want to make that clear. This is just strictly speculation, but I have a feeling that number is higher than what they are letting on. But we saw this with ZTE and especially with Huawei, where the Chinese government want to tout what types of chips and breakthroughs that they have themselves to create without TSMC and others. And it turns out, the reality once you get past those things isn't quite there. And so I have a feeling that that's probably also the case in terms of, how many NVIDIA GPUs they were using and how much this cost and how much time this took. Some of those things might not be exactly as they appear to be, but even if that is the case, this is still incredibly impressive and shouldn't be something I think that people should be angry about. It's like, this is progress regardless of who came up with it.
Of course, David Sachs politicized it. He's the AI czar and Bitcoin czar in the new administration. And his contention is that he said, well, he was on Fox on Tuesday. It's clear. There's substantial evidence that DeepSeek used OpenAI's models. Yes, and?
Right.
And what are you going to do? You're going to sanction them? You're going to...
Right, and what can you do about it? You're already putting those things into place. It's like, this is not, they are not beholden to you. Like, hate to break it to you, David Sachs, but...
I want to, by the way, just parenthetically, apologize to our friends from Australia that it was not a marmot. It was a wombat, right? Is that a wombat, Shoshana? I think you're muted.
It's a wombat.
Yep.
So
was that a wombat on your? This is my wombat picture, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking
different
about
things.
I confused the wombat and the marmot. The wombat started coming for me. This is it's so walking closer and closer, and this is where I was
cute.
A little afraid. I said, "Do they eat humans?" But no, they don't. They don't. They are really cute.
I didn't remember Australia having marmots, but I was excited that maybe they do.
So are you in marmots or are you in wombats? I'm sorry. What is your investment?
Marmots.
Okay. I'm a wombat guy myself. Huh?
Shoshana, is that your photo?
No, that's not mine. I have a lot of really good marmot photos, but none were really suited for a background.
You can see why I'm confused. Doesn't that look just like a wombat?
They look very similar. They look very similar.
They're fat little babies, and I love them. Like,
they're so cute.
It is the wombat that has the hard butt, though, not the marmot. So please don't run over marmots.
I was going to be surprised if they had a hard butt. I feel like I would have known that.
They're squishy. I think they're squishy.
Yeah, a little squishy.
Yeah.
Aww.
So just to show you
TikTok.
that, huh?
Sorry, go I was just gonna say there's a TikTok of a guy in Australia who has like a pet wombat with his daughter, and it's the cutest thing. It's like they go around and like the little girl, she's probably 2 years old, 3 years old, and she and the wombat have basically grown up together, and it's the sweetest thing you will ever see in your life. It is great. It is like the best, most pure content.
I love wombats, but marmots look pretty good too. Anyway,
Marmots
I just
look
wanted to
amazing.
show you that humans are capable of hallucinating as well. They get mad at AI. It's like if AI made this mistake, people would go, "You see." But if a human makes it, it's just like, well, he's just an old man and he's dotty.
Well, you know what's kind of funny with everything too? Like I saw a lot of people trying to trick the model to saying anti-China stuff or say or just make China look
You can't get
unfavorable.
Tiananmen Square out of it. That's for sure.
But I actually thought it raised a really good point that like OpenAI has its like legal limits, but our legal stuff is different than their legal stuff, and people kind of overall they kind of get it. But when it comes to China's legal stuff, it just makes it less useful for people. It's like it can actually infringe on just the usability of the platform. And I think
Yes.
that kind of sets it up for failure. Like I know people have issues with TikTok, and I do too. I have some issues with TikTok, but they don't censor stuff the way that DeepSeek is. Like it's a very, very different kind of thing. And I think when you have that like state censorship at that level, it actually sets it behind and makes it like less usable overall, which is kind of an interesting, like almost like diplomacy problem within the AI world.
There is an issue with safety in DeepSeek. I have mixed feelings about this whole AI safety thing. I feel like you're telling the AI, don't talk about, say, Tiananmen Square or how to make atomic weapons or whatever it is really artificial. You can't. But anyway, DeepSeek researchers at Wiz, which is, I guess, an AI security firm, found a major security lapse in the Chinese AI DeepSeek. Actually, it's a pretty bad one, but it's happened to many companies all over the world. They left a database exposed, a ClickHouse database with 1 million log entries containing chat histories, secret keys, back-end details. This happens, you forget that you have an S3 bucket that has no controls on it. The database allowed full administrative control without authentication.
Such a comforting breach. I mean, I mean,
I'm more worried about breaches, frankly, than AI safety. I think that's more of a concern.
oh, for sure. And it's like, if all of these fancy, super intelligent, very forward-leaning systems, it's like you had a perimeter breach of a database.
Yeah. Usually what happens is the poor programmer makes a Git commit that has, the secret keys in it. This one, they didn't have any secret keys. It was just unlocked.
One way you save on cost is if you just don't have an IT.
If you just don't do it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, right? It's like I have remember from a year ago the Rabbit R1, the other R1.
Oh, yeah, the other R1.
R1 the
Did
other
you buy
R1,
one
the
of
R1
those?
that's
I did. Yes,
of course I did.
1,000%.
You got one, Dan?
Oh,
Yeah, I've
there
got
it
one
is.
right
She's
here.
got it.
Right here.
It's the cutest thing ever. But
It's so cute. It's so cute. But
I'm there with you.
yes, heck yeah. But no, it makes me
teenage
think.
engineering. I mean, like, and I got a
Same,
year
as did I.
perplexity.
That's exactly how I justified it. I was like, this is the dumbest thing, and this is fine. And then it turned out to not live up at all to its hype. And then the thing was we realized the security was basically non-existent, and that they were asking you to like log in with your Uber credentials and stuff, and so that it could have their like what they called agents, but really it was just macros do stuff for you. But the security was like so bad, and I saw how the login worked, that it was just like a VM thing like in the browser, and some other people who are smarter than me were able to even go deeper about how they were able to get Doom running on like the VMs, and it was just
There's a good use for that, though. That's a good thing, if you can get your R1 to run Doom.
Yeah.
I buy
No,
every
this was
stupid
worse.
AI product out there. These are the Brilliant glasses,
nice.
which don't do anything. I also just bought
they
the
look
B.
awesome, though.
This was shown at CES. This is the B AI device. It's recording everything all the time.
Oh yeah. I got one of those in June.
That's just what
Not the
people
final
want.
form factor. I got one when it was still like a pendant that would go over your neck, and
Yes,
I
you could do
then
that also.
immediately
You could-
turned it off.
Yeah. No, I'm loving it because it says it's kind of silly, but we're going to get the creators of it on our new show about AI. But let me just read you some of the daily memories. This is from yesterday. Piano melodies, leaky decks, and Sinatra's Palm Springs filled the day. But actually, that's all true. It sounds weird. Leo had a productive and enjoyable day. He made significant progress on a new piano piece, true, mastering the challenge of playing chords with one hand and melody with the other. He shared a laugh with Lisa over a funny video and received encouragement to record his piano playing. Later, when Leo went grocery shopping, he and Lisa discussed dinner plans. I mean, this thing is listening to everything. And I gave him access to my Gmail and my calendar and my contacts. What could possibly go wrong?
I mean,
why are you laughing at me, Shoshana? Shoshana's laughing.
That's so stressful to me. Like, that's so stressful. It's funny, Christina, what you were saying about the Uber credential for the login. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you caught this, but it's just funny because it's like another layer of the same problem. Last year, it turned out that the age and identity verifier for like Uber, for every like big Twitter, like Bumble, was breached for a year and a half. And I've been into this stuff. I know. And I've been into this stuff from the age verification stuff because they're like, it's secure. You don't have to worry about anything. You're being silly. So like when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's so funny when you mentioned it that like, that it was happening through like your Uber credential. And I'm like, guess what? You have to like be careful of that stuff already because everyone knows it because nothing's secure.
So I mean, I have my attitudes towards privacy are probably not typical of most people. I don't really care because I'm on the air all the time, so it's nothing really private. They give you this thing generates facts and then says, "Are these true?" So this is one of the facts it just generated. Leo has issues with ankle socks not staying up. That's true. Leo's concerned about the freshness of grapes. That's true. Leo considers fish a light meal option. That's true. Leo has meatball mix in the freezer from Whole Foods. That's true. Leo has a task related to getting Brewers tickets. It adds this task to my to-do list, by the way, which is great. And that is also true. Let's see. I'm showing you these. Leo is comfortable using voice commands to interact with technology. That's true. So it now knows so many facts about me.
What's your issue with
knows
ankle
what's in your
socks?
freezer.
They fall
Good
down.
question.
So
Ow.
like they keep slipping under, right?
Yeah.
So you want the ones with a little tab on the back that like changes life. Like I'm like loyal to little tab ankle
You
socks.
see, already AI is changing my life. It's making it better. I'll get the tabs. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I always thought ankle socks were dopey. I used to wear socks all the way up, but it's a long story.
That's stylish now. Higher socks are stylish.
I was going to say stylish socks are now in vogue. And in fact, like if you have like, because I used to always wear no show, and the no show last year became like passe. And so now
I don't
you
want
have
to see
wear the high
men's
socks
ankles.
again.
Women, it's okay, but men's ankles, I don't want to see those. But you shouldn't wear those with sandals. Am I right? The high socks?
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, actually, if you wear them with the sandals that go across, not the toe sandals, that's like sporty and stylish, you know?
They're saying it's not the AI that has changed my life. It's Shoshana. That's true. That's a good point. AI systems with unacceptable risk are now banned as of today in the EU. Don't know what an unacceptable risk is.
Okay.
Apparently, the EU isn't really clear either. It's designed to cover use cases where AI might appear to interact with individuals. Okay. Minimal risk is, for instance, spam filters will face no regulatory oversight. Okay. Limited risk includes customer service chatbots. They'll have a light touch regulatory oversight. High risk AI for healthcare. That's a good example. Yeah. Will face heavy regulatory oversight. And then the unacceptable risk applications, which is what these new laws or new regulations cover, will be prohibited entirely. AI used for individual social scoring, like in Black Mirror, building risk profiles based on a person's behavior. AI that manipulates a person's decisions subliminally or deceptively, like convincing me to put tabs on my ankle socks. AI that exploits vulnerabilities like age, disability, or social economic status. Now, I know you are not a fan, and R Street in general is not a fan of over-regulation, Shoshana. Does this seem over-regulation or appropriate?
So they don't know what they're doing. I mean, like the Europe's just been trying to like kill technology for years now, and it's absurd, and it's why they don't have a lot of tech companies. I think like with mental health and health services in general, I think it's worth having oversight of AI, but the way they're going to go about it is just fine everyone and like be really stick over carrot. I've been talking with Utah actually, and they're doing some really cool stuff in how they're trying to regulate AI. They're just trying to figure out like what's the framework that's going to work best in each situation, because they want AI to be something that can help people for health services, but obviously they see the risks. So they're working like really cooperatively with a bunch of different companies to figure out, okay, what's going to work best here. What's they're taking a really collaborative approach, and I think it makes sense to do, especially with emerging tech that's happening fast, that like you don't want to stop this from from growing, but you also want to make sure that it's safe, especially in certain circumstances. But Europe has just tried to crush everything and like get lots of positive attention for crushing things. So even here, like I'm not, and I don't think even we're against regulating a little bit more here if it makes sense. It's just about figuring, do regulations already cover this? Like discrimination is already, regulated in a lot of cases. Providing crappy health services is already regulated in a lot of cases. But if there's additional layers, that's, it's something we're open to. But Europe is a terrible model for that stuff,
I feel like their GDPR is giving us in the States some degree of privacy, whereas our Congress seems unwilling to do that. So there's some things that they're doing that are good, right? You think GDPR goes too far?
I think from a cybersecurity perspective, at least when it comes to AI and regulation, we've found, or I shouldn't say we, but I have found and seen that Europe has been pretty amenable to a lot of types of innovation, but that is at least in that limited experience and from a cyber perspective. But right now it kind of seems like a very good place to look at cybersecurity.
Yeah. AI that uses biometrics to infer a person's characteristics, like their sexual orientation, is banned. AI that attempts to, this is interesting, this is something we are doing, I think, in the United States, attempts to predict crime based on people's appearances. Oh no, that's just what the cops do. AI that collects real-time biometric data in public places for the purposes of law enforcement.
Terrible.
Have you guys read the book AI 2041 by Kai-Fu Lee?
No. Oh, Kai-Fu Lee is great. I have not read that.
Yeah, he is. It's kind of, Leo, as you're reading this, it kind of feels like almost a chapter by chapter breakdown of this. It's really a book of short stories, but they're all thematically connected. But it is, we talk a lot about the future, and we love science fiction because it kind of helps us imagine the future, if not predict it directly. But this is a very down to earth, because of Kai-Fu Lee's background. This is a very not down to earth, but a very practical forecast of where we could be with AI by mid-century. And again, as you're reading that list, Leo, it really feels like this book come to life.
Yeah. And he's warning us against this, I presume.
I don't know that there are certainly some warnings in the book, but there are also, there's more nuance. It is from a Chinese perspective, but there's, especially when it comes to the relationships we will form with artificial intelligence and the way it could augment our life and become a type of relationship. If right now we look at maybe there are human-like avatars. That's kind of short-term thinking. But as we progress, we might find these agents are part of our life and express themselves because they have such access to data in really, really unique ways.
Yeah. We in California had a similar anti-AI, or I'm sorry, not anti-AI, but regulating AI law that the governor declined to sign. He vetoed, that required, among other things, that companies of a certain size would have to have a kill switch for their AI, unlike RoboCop, I guess. It seemed, I don't know where I come down on this. I feel like, just as in the early days of the internet, you could make a mistake by rushing to regulate it too quickly. that it can, and we didn't do that with the internet. The Congress was very careful to kind of have a light touch on the internet because we didn't know what it was going to be. In hindsight, maybe you could say, well, they should have done something more to protect us. I don't know. But I worry that maybe the EU is doing this by over-regulating AI, we're preventing it from growing in a way that might be very useful. Agreed or disagreed? Am I wrong on this?
Yeah, that's where I come down, basically, and our street worries about, too. We're always down to figure out, in certain use cases, in certain, if there seems to be more of a risk in one area than another. There can be, like, regulations that attack this that we're not, opposed to, but so much of this just seems to be broad and tons of requirements that don't really have a real focused end. It's just like, these systems should have to tell the government everything, which I don't think is great either, because people, you want to be careful from the privacy angle when it comes to the government itself. We're also for a national privacy law, but that's a whole, other debate. And we're also really interested in the cybersecurity side of stuff. So like one thing here, on that side we're doing is trying to get the federal government to align its cyber standards and reporting standards across agencies so that companies know what they have to do. And it's a little easier to hold them accountable as well. But when it comes to AI, it's so unfocused and it's so, so much of government is, I think, afraid of experimentation here. But then you even see like other parts of government really embracing it. Like a couple of states have used AI to try to review their regulatory code and make it in human language and simpler and something
Perfect
that they
use.
would pass through. Yeah.
Perfect use for an AI.
There's so many good uses of it to make government better. Another one that I found out about is using it for permitting applications in, I think, California, actually, and that it got through permitting requests a lot faster. And I think you can use that for occupational licenses and other stuff as well. But it's always a little bit frustrating because, government is so focused on stopping things just in case rather than focusing on fostering the good potential and figuring out where the problems are and how to narrowly address them. And I worry about that because it's sexy to be against tech. I think that's starting to go away a little bit.
I hope
We're
so.
definitely in an era where it's just sexy if you're a regulator cracking down on evil big tech,
Yep. You agree, Dan?
That it's sexy to be against.
No. The earlier premise that we shouldn't over-regulate AI until we understand better what it's doing and what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not a policy person, and I think Shoshana is a million times smarter than I am about this. But I do think that we need an environment that safely fosters innovation. I have some trepidation if we look back at how social media played out. I think that perhaps we could have introduced regulation that encouraged innovation, but slowed things down a bit. So I have some trepidations.
But that's in hindsight, right? I mean,
it's in hindsight, right?
We didn't know.
We didn't know, and maybe the benefits exceed the costs. I don't know. Right now, I'm not a big social media person, but it could the same anyway. I think I agree with Shoshana mostly, but I opt for safety over speed.
Okay, safety over speed. Christina, your vote.
Yeah, I would definitely say safety over speed. And I would go further to say this. I think that I would feel differently about how some of the regulation frameworks have come into place if I felt more confident that any of the people regulating this industry actually knew what they were talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
And so this is an area which is difficult, right? Especially when we're talking about emerging technologies where your experts are going to be your researchers or your people in industry and not the people necessarily making policy. But there has been, and I think I do agree with Shoshana, it has become popular and sexy to be against big tech. And that is for some good reasons. I think big tech has made a lot of decisions and made a lot of moves that have pushed. The pendulum was in one very positive direction for a very long time. And then because of things, frankly, around privacy, around, user protections, around things that now regulations, I think, understandably want to curtail, people's perception and the attitude from people in making policy has shifted into the other direction, and so but because of that, there is and hopefully this gets better. There is now this friction between the people doing the research and creating the products and the people setting policy. And friction isn't a bad thing, but I think where it is a bad thing is when you have the people who are setting policy who genuinely do not understand tech. And this has been a problem for decades, but it's only getting worse. And I do sometimes think, especially in the EU, they almost, in the United States, to be clear, but in the EU, it's almost seems to be a point of pride, right? Like, we don't understand this and we don't care. Because
do you think that they, I mean, some of the Mistral, for instance, comes out of France. Some of the best AI models are European.
Yes.
Do you think, though, that this is kind of, as we feel about China, we're xenophobic about Chinese AI, they're xenophobic about American AI?
Maybe, or maybe just their perceptions about how tech works are different, right? I mean, like they have been much less risk averse and they have much stronger labor, standards and different things are the way that the EU operates, the way the United States operate are just different. And I think that having caution and having skepticism is good. I think sometimes setting policy before you even understand what everything is doing can be both a bad thing because it prevents positive use cases from taking place, and it can also be bad because you might be setting to motion policies that prevent you from preventing the really bad stuff that could happen, right? Like so I don't know. I feel like I would feel better about this if I actually had any confidence that the people setting policy knew anything and weren't just, either listening to the experts that are saying what they want to hear, which oftentimes is that the sky is falling, prognosis, or, had any amount of digital sensibilities at all. And at least in the United States, I can't speak for the EU, but in Congress, the number of our, people both in the House and the Senate who have any sort of digital literacy is almost non-existent. And that's very scary to me when we look at what's going to take place from a policy perspective.
Yeah. I'll cop to this. I am an AI accelerationist. I've kind of come to the point of view. My attitude is I'm so blown away when I have a folder of AI tools that I pay for on my phone, literally, probably $100-200 a month on all of these things. And I'm blown away by what it can do, by coding, by just answering questions. I talk to ChatGPT. I have my action button on my phone. It opens up ChatGPT O1. Actually, I think it's the new one.
O3-Mini?
Yeah, O3-Mini, exactly. And I ask it questions it's my research assistant. I am blown away. I think maybe we've gotten complacent about what's happening, but we are in the middle of a revolution. It seems to me. Now, this is just my attitude, and you can tell me I'm full of it, and many have. I feel like, so what if it's smarter than us, or we hit the singularity? Let's see what happens. This is amazing, and I think being cautious is going to be put a damper on something that could be truly revolutionary. And it already is. It blows me away what we can do in a year.
I agree with that with a couple of caveats. I mean, one area that I do actually I'm in favor of more regulation for, and that bothers me very much is when we see these systems being used in cases like trying to identify people who might have committed a crime, or to be used to judge sentencing guidelines, or to be used to,
when you went to see the Eras tour, there was face recognition as you went in.
And that's
because
fine.
Taylor Swift has had stalker problems, and it was looking for her harassers to stop them.
Right.
That's okay.
And look, that's fine. And if you have those systems that are fed with data that can maybe show things, fine. What I'm talking about is, like, there are startups that are basically saying, we want to basically ride along with police officers and take their, body cam footage and, I guess, transcribe things and write their reports for them. Now, if you want to help with transcribing what is on the body cam, that's fine. But I'm not at all comfortable from, like, so many, basic, like constitutional amendment perspectives. I am not okay at all. Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, both of them. I'm not confident with saying that the cops should just be able to have AI generating those police reports. So many problems will happen there, right? And to say, oh, well, we're going to describe what happened in the video and we're going to write these things out in a better method. No, I'm not okay with that at all. And so I feel like there are some. because we've seen, as good as these tools are, we've seen how they're not perfect, how they can hallucinate things that aren't there. And frankly, because it is your job. That is your job as a police officer. If you want to help, like, go through a transcript and make sure that you didn't miss something, fine. But like, your job is to actually fill out the police paperwork and to do that. And that if I'm being charged with a crime, you better have actually done the work and not just trusted a computer to generate a report based on, what was on the body cam footage and what it picked up, based on what voices it heard. Like, well, I'm not okay with that.
One of the things the EU law prohibits is, I guess, profiling people pre-crime, trying to say, well, that person looks like they're about to commit a crime. And we know that face recognition often makes mistakes when it comes to people of color, does false positives. People have been arrested. They've been jailed. They've actually been convicted from speciously from false reports by AI face recognition. So that's a problem. I agree. I think we should work on that. But I don't want to prohibit face recognition because there's some real valuable. And honestly, I don't. If you can use an AI to generate your report, I think you should have to check it and you should have to sign it and say, I verified this. But I think that, we're using AI to generate show notes. I understand that's not exactly a mission.
No,
application.
But I feel like those are completely different things, right? Like show notes for your show. If you get something wrong,
it's not the end of the world. Nobody goes to jail for that.
If it's part of a police report where that is going to be used as the basis to charge someone with a crime and then take them through due process, I think that's completely different. At the very least, there should be massive red flags so that lawyers know this was aided with the assistance of AI. But they won't do that. They won't. And I just feel like this opens up lots and lots of, I just see lots of false convictions happening because of the basis of these tools. And that does scare me. And so on the one hand, like, I think we should experiment. On the other hand, like, I'm very, very nervous about how this could be used in law enforcement, just because I don't have a lot of trust in a lot of law enforcement anyway. And these sorts of systems could make that even more complicated. That's just me.
I think a good example here is like from the bias that they found in AI system, just like how police bias can get into anything, just like any other bias can get into something. So if they're like working with a police force that just for whatever reason, there tends to be a lot of biased members, and like they could have data that shows like more aggressive reports about Black people, just for example, and like and if that goes into the data, then that could be dangerous. I'm open to testing it, but I definitely wouldn't want that to be like the final thing, at least for a long time. Like, there should be a lot of work to make sure that like bias doesn't get in there, which is a hard thing in general to do. But
bias gets in from humans.
Of course.
Very readily.
There's a differentiation here between when we talk about safety and AI, and they're both important, but they're two different things. What Christina's talking about is maybe the expression of, or the potential dangers to society, which could happen in a lot of different ways. And then there's the AI training and the AI acceleration safety conversations, which are a little more technical and about how quickly we should develop the actual capabilities of these models. Two very different, very valid conversations, but different and distinct.
Yeah. I want to take a little break. We have lots more to talk about. And of course, mention, somebody was saying in the chat, you guys should have an AI show. We do have an AI show. It starts Wednesday. We're rebranding this week in Google to Intelligent Machines. The guy who coined the term intelligent machines, Ray Kurzweil, will join us next month on the show. And we're going to bring in AI experts, because I freely admit I don't understand it well enough to have a strong opinion. I'm excited about what it's doing and what it can do. And I think we need to talk about it. I think it's an important part of our mission. So tune in Wednesday for the first episode of Intelligent Machines, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC on Twit. Great panel. So nice to have Christina Warren. You're going to tell us what your new job will be sometime tomorrow, maybe.
Yeah, it should be sometime tomorrow or sometime next week. Starting next week. It will be.
When do you start?
I start tomorrow. Technically, I don't know when I will have access to all of my work systems and whatnot. But yeah, probably we'll make the announcement tomorrow.
Are you going to move?
No, at least not right now. No plans moving. I mean, that could always change, but
I'm sure GitHub was sad to lose you. That's all.
And I was sad to leave them. They're the most amazing place, most amazing team. I'm a huge fan, always, forever of GitHub, and GitHub Copilot, I think, is one of the best, tools.
There's an example, of something pretty amazing that AI can do.
Fully agree.
Yeah. Well, good luck with the new career.
Thank you.
And we will stay in touch.
Of course we will.
Yes. Unless they say, and no more of that podcasting thing.
You know what? I'm very hopeful that will not be the case, but
it could happen. It could happen. It happened once with Dan Patterson when he left CBS. But we're glad to have you back, Director of Content at Blackbird AI, danpatterson.com. Still writes about technology for ZDNet. Always a pleasure. Yeah, it must be hard when the company says, we don't want you talking on podcasts anymore.
Is what it is.
It was sad. We lost your input. We're glad to get you back. Appreciate it.
It's great to be here.
Yeah. And Shoshana Weissman, R Street, is enlightened and says, talk as much as you want. Head of digital media at R Street. I guess when you're the head of digital media and you're hanging with marmots, not a wombat.
No, not a wombat.
Wombat heads are bigger, I've been told. So that's how you can tell the difference.
That's a really good point. Also, they're gray. There's a variety of colorings in marmots. This is the yellow-bellied marmot. That's like common to the west of America. There's a bunch of variations though. There's got to be at least 7 subtypes. There's a Himalayan marmot, totally different.
I now have a new insult. You yellow-bellied marmot, you! Great to have you, Shoshana. Thank you all for being here. Our show today brought to you this week by US Cloud, the #1 Microsoft Unified Support Replacement. Why would you want to replace Microsoft? We've been talking for a few months now about US Cloud, the global leader in third-party Microsoft support for enterprises. I can give you 3 reasons. Number 1, you're going to save. Switching to US Cloud can save your business 30 to 50% over Microsoft Unified and Premier support. Maybe that explains why 50 of the Fortune 500 now use US Cloud for their Microsoft support. But it wouldn't be any good if it was just less expensive. It's also got to be as good, right? It's better than Microsoft support. Faster, twice as fast, average to time to resolution. Twice as fast, average time to resolution versus Microsoft. We're talking minutes. But now US Cloud is excited to tell you about a new offering. They do a lot to help you save money, not just by cutting the costs of your Microsoft Premier support. For instance, their Azure Cost Optimization Service. This is very cool. When was the last time you evaluated your Azure usage? There's a little bit of Azure creep in there, right? If it's been a while, you probably have some Azure sprawl, a little spend creep going on. Good news, it's now easier than ever to save on Azure. US Cloud offers an 8-week Azure engagement powered by VBox that identifies key opportunities to reduce costs across your entire Azure environment. Really, be honest, do you know exactly where all your Azure dollars are going? With their expert guidance, you'll get access to US Cloud's senior engineers. By the way, this is the 3rd reason they're better. They're lower cost, they're faster, and they're smarter. Their senior engineers have an average of over 16 years. 16 years with Microsoft products. They're the experts. I talked to the folks at US Cloud. I said, how do you attract these people? They said, well, they're all US based. We offer them great salary, great benefits. We make it a great job for them. And that's how we attract the best engineering. So anyway, back to this Azure engagement. At the end of the 8-week engagement, your interactive dashboard will identify rebuild and downscale opportunities and unused resources. It will actually surface where you're spending that you don't have to, allowing you to reallocate those precious IT dollars towards needed resources. And may I make a suggestion? Invest your Azure savings in US Cloud's Microsoft support. Actually, that's what a few of US Cloud's other customers have done. Completely eliminate your unified spend. I'll give you an example. Sam, he's the technical operations manager at Bead Gaming. He rated US Cloud 5 stars out of 5, saying, quote, "We found some things that have been running," this is the Azure engagement thing, "we'd found some things that have been running for 3 years, which no one was checking. These VMs were, $10 grand a month. Not a massive chunk in the grand scheme of how much we spend on Azure, but once you get to 40 or 50,000 a month, it really starts to add up. Yeah, no kidding. It's simple. Stop overpaying for Azure, identify and eliminate Azure creep, and boost your performance all in 8 weeks with US Cloud. Just one of many reasons people are switching to US Cloud for their Microsoft Unified and Premier support. Visit uscloud.com. Book a call today. Find out how much your team can save. I think you'll be impressed with how good these guys are. uscloud.com. Go there right now. Book a call. Get faster Microsoft support, better Microsoft support for less. And by the way, if they ask you, make sure you tell them, oh, yeah, we saw it on Twit. That helps us. uscloud.com. They're there to help you. All right, we're not quite done with AI. We'll move on. But that was most of the news this week was DeepSeek and AI. And OpenAI, they said that they are going to partner with the U.S. National Laboratories on scientific research and nuclear weapons security. Maybe this is the kind of thing that might have made you nervous. They're going to work. They're going to deploy an OpenAI model on Venado. That's the supercomputer at Los Alamos National Labs. Los Alamos is where, of course, our nuclear program, our nuclear weapons get developed. 15,000 scientists working at the national labs will be able to access O1, the new reasoning series. OpenAI will also work with Microsoft to deploy one of its models on Venado. Venado's powered by NVIDIA and HPE. Working on nuclear weapons, quote, focused on reducing the risk of nuclear war. Shall we play a game? And securing nuclear material and weapons worldwide. I think if they work on security, that's probably a good thing. Yeah?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My strong informed opinion is just securing nuclear weapons as opposed to leaving them unsecured is I'm for it.
In general. Yeah.
But if we give the engineers access to 4.0, doesn't 4.0 also have access to the engineers?
That's a good question. No, because I guess it's running on the computer locally inside the labs, right? So in theory, it wouldn't exfiltrate stuff out of the labs. That's always a concern. Like my little AI friend here who's recording this entire conversation. I don't even know where it's going. It could be going to China. I don't know. I don't care. Listen all you want. If it wants to hear me play The Saints Come Marching In over and over and over again on the piano, go ahead. Listen in.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, though. How would you feel if everything that you said to this thing was released somewhere and then emailed to like your top 10 like most contacted people in your address book?
Well, it's not going to do that, but even if it did, so what?
Well, I'm just saying, because I think that's the real kind of worry that a lot of people have about this stuff. Isn't so much like, oh, these things have my system, but like this could get out there and people.
I am not knocking anybody's desire for privacy. That is absolutely your choice. I think I gain an advantage. I think, by the way, this is why. So one of the things people are talking about is Apple intelligence and how stupid it is.
It's bad.
It's bad because it's private. It's on device. It's limited in the size of the model, but also it's limited in what it knows. And honestly, I think if you're willing to give the AI everything, even if it emails it to my 10 top contacts, you're going to get more from the AI, right? And I think that's what Apple's finding out.
Maybe. I think there's like a broad spectrum between the two, though, of uses.
I wear this to my somebody saying, what if your doctor was wearing it? My doctor does record our conversation. He has a sign that says, I'm going to use AI to transcribe this and we're going to delete it. But I also am recording him. And that way when I get notes back, I don't remember everything I get. I think it's just, it isn't obviously a complete trade-off between privacy and intelligence. But I do think that the more willing you are to give up on privacy, the more valuable the AI will be.
They said the same thing about social media.
Yeah, and I fell for that too. But I've deleted all my tweets since.
Me too.
I still, by the way, I still check X, but that's kind of part of my job, right? I mean, I have to see what's going on out there. It's interesting. The national, what is it? The NTSB, National Transportation Safety Board, has announced that it is not going to update the press in the way it used to with emails, press releases. It's all going to be on X.com. This, to me, seems like a bad idea. It seems like it's really kind of a little, backsheesh to Elon Musk, right?
Yes, clearly. And but like putting aside who controls X, because that or Twitter, whatever we're going to call it, because that to me is the least most bothersome part about this. It's like these are third-party services, and you're talking about like official communications that you're relying on a platform that might change its Mailu might change like what it wants to do. Like what if they decide that they don't want to display things the same way? It's like there's gosh.
What if the entire U.S. government decided to use X or worse, Truth Social for all of its public announcements? It seems like that would be a misuse of our taxpayers' dollars. National Transportation Safety Board will only update the press about plane crashes on X, not over email. They announced on Saturday they will use the @NTSB_newsroom account to share news conferences or other investigative information. They said this is to help them better manage their incoming emails. NTSB later said reporters should email mediarelations@ntsb.gov for all other inquiries. Oh, it's specifically about those two incidents, the two plane crashes.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'm not against using X in addition to the normal. But if you stop having press conferences and media briefings, you just use X. That's not good.
Yeah, also, the government was kind of slow to adopt social media in helpful ways. And I'm all for having stuff in more places, like hook up the automations, have everything go everywhere. And I'm all for that. But yeah, it doesn't make sense to do it this way. Even if they only want to open up inboxes in certain places, like if you can only inbox them via like the regular email plus Twitter DMs, like I get it because most people use their Twitter DMs as like a secondary inbox if they're tweeting a lot. So I get that. But yeah, this is, that's bizarre. Even if they wanted to do this for these two incidents, just host it, like make it a page on the site where follow these threads, make it easy to find for anyone.
Yeah, no, I have nothing against them announcing stuff on X, just not exclusively X. That's what's
the exclusive
weird.
Thing.
Yeah,
no,
and requiring a login.
Well, right. Oh,
that's right.
Point.
You have to have a login, don't you? You can't just look at a tweet.
I mean, and look, not that this would matter with this administration, but I think that login thing that you bring up, Dan, which fantastic point, that might violate some sort of either accessibility or some sort of other actual government guidelines that exist in terms of getting people access to these sorts of things. So, One
of the replies on X is NTSB is breaking the law. A government agency is not permitted to restrict its obligation to inform the public by making it available only on a privately run platform. Precisely.
Right. I think have it on X is great. That's actually a great use case. And to Shoshana's point, I think government was slow to adopt some of those things and maybe too slow. But have an RSS feed, have a separate page that's up where you can put your updates that are cross-posted across those things. Set up the automations,
even their own a government Mastodon instance. Sorry to cut you off, Christina.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
Is this, so as somebody on X said, a new level of transparency? I don't think so. I mean, you certainly
unless we redefine transparency.
Yeah. Okay, well, just curious. By the way, that's the same platform that the naked video of the current new Secretary of Transportation, a video of him dancing naked on the Big Brother. But that's just another story.
The real world.
The real world. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
The real world.
Yeah.
It's nice to know that he can let his hair down, have a good time. There is no videos of me dancing naked on Real World. I just want to say, even if
Me neither.
even if this records everything. All right, let's talk about O3-Mini. This was released. It's interesting. OpenAI responded to DeepSeek, and this is why competition is a good thing. Responded to DeepSeek by saying, let's release O3-Mini, its latest version of O3, the reasoning model. I like these reasoning models. DeepSeek is a reasoning model too. They take a longer time, but you can watch them as they kind of come up with the answer. I think it's kind of an interesting thing. Sometimes it takes 15, 20 seconds, a minute, but often they say the answers are better. OpenAI is saying the new model is both powerful and affordable because it is mini, which means it's smaller. Reasoning models fact check their answers before giving out results. O3-Mini fine-tuned for STEM, programming, math, and science. I immediately gave it I cut and pasted from the Advent of Code Day 7 problem that has been stymieing me since December. And literally in 30 seconds, it came up with the correct answer. And all the code in Common Lisp, no less, an ancient language.
When Apple Intelligence, I'm just looking at my phone right now. When Apple Intelligence opts to use GPT Plus, do we know if we are able to choose the model?
Yes, you can.
You can.
Well, I pay for it, but if you have
me too. I'm just
if you have a paid
settings,
account, you go to your Chat GPT app. There's a drop down, and you can choose. And
choose.
So if under model, I can choose GPT 4.0 with scheduled tasks, O1, O3 Mini, and O3 Mini High.
And this is what it responds to. This would correlate then to using the Siri button on your iPhone, right? Like,
I see what you're saying. You're asking if I use Apple Intelligence.
Right.
Can I choose? No, I don't think so. I think Apple made a deal with OpenAI to use GPT-4. Period.
It's just for that's kind of what I thought, but so I do almost.
I'm sorry, I thought you meant in the Chat GPT client, but no.
I mean that's a good tip too, because I didn't look to change that. I do something very similar with the action button, but I put it on Perplexity.
Same thing.
And the same thing, right? But it's a little easier to choose the model, and that's why I do it, because it's in the interface. It's just fast and easy to choose the model that I'm interacting with.
I had Perplexity until O3-Mini came out, then I changed it. I go back and forth. Every once in a while, I change it to Claude as well. They're all
same.
They're all different, but they're all kind of. I feel like remarkable. Am I just being suckered?
No, I'm there with you.
I am too.
Yeah. It's very easy for us to kind of take it for granted, but look at what we were seeing 2 years ago compared to what we're seeing today. We're making amazing progress.
Look, everything on our site at Blackbird, not to log roll for us, but everything, we partnered with this great firm Punch, and every design on the site is AI generated. And my role is I work with AI engineers on one hand, and on the other hand, I work with intelligence analysts. And often they both send me this incredibly intelligent buckets of notes, but I use AI every day to synthesize that. Otherwise, it would take me forever to do my job. And using a combination of the Claude API with GPT 4.0 and Perplexity, like that, really chaining those things together. Well, I can also see the power and potential of agents. But that is my day, is throwing things between different AI systems.
Agentic AI does stuff for you, right? It books an Uber, or it writes a little script to get you to automatically download every article mentioning Blackbird AI, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right. I think you might hear a lot of jargon. I mean, I know you're going to hear a lot of jargon about this, and a lot of often I really dislike jargon because it's off-putting and it doesn't bring people in. It kind of creates a shield and a wall. So really, agentic AI is automated tasks, and that is one certain capability that's a consumer capability. But if we look at agents at large scale, especially running in the enterprise, there's a lot of potential, because you could chain very complex tasks together and run them automatically. But what we we're also seeing this, one of the really disruptive and very interesting knock-on effects of, I keep saying knock-on effects, sorry for that cliche, but one of the knock-on effects of DeepSeek is, well, if this really did cost just $5 million to train, then maybe we could see a crazy democratization of agents and of different types of AIs. What really might happen, the potential future that I'm excited about with artificial intelligence is if the cost to produce it and the energy cost to produce it and to produce high quality generative results has sunk dramatically. I mean, that's, from an environmental perspective, that's really incredible. It also makes these things far more accessible to broad numbers of people, far more than it is now.
What, Christina, with the Copilot, of course, you used to work for GitHub, but and I'm sure you only want to say good things about your former employers. But in general, the people that you talked to, you were in developer relations, were they using Copilot as an assistant or to actually write code?
It was sort of vary, right? So I think primarily assistant, but the models have gotten better a lot faster. So, Claude 3.5 Sonnet for code especially is really,
amazing.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's the best one of them. And Copilot right now offers, I think they just added O3-Mini into Copilot chat. And O1 preview and O1-Mini was available at the end of last year. Gemini 1.5 is available for some users, and that has obviously a really big context window, which is awesome. And of course, like the original GPT-4o, but like in my experience, Claude has been really fantastic at code. And so the primary way to use it right now is to kind of, be kind of autocomplete, and in some cases maybe generate, big blocks of code or functions depending on what you want to do. But what's starting to shift, and we've seen this especially with less technical people who maybe don't have the fear about like how to interact with these systems, and hear me out, because that sounds antithetical, but kind of makes sense, where they will go into ChatGPT and be like, help me write a program for this, and get fairly far along, whereas people who might have a little bit of experience might be more hesitant to chat with the assistants the same way. But what we've seen, especially with some of the newer models and with reasoning, you can start to actually get some really good solutions with this, with things like O1, and I'm sure with O3 and R1 and things like that, would be to solve and kind of debug more difficult problems. And in that case, I do think that we've started to see, and you can see more, code generated from, end to end that's AI. Now, how much stuff is going to be committed to production that is AI generated? I think that that's going to be more minimal, right? But in terms of running tests, sure, and maybe in doing certain sorts of reviews or helping do debugging, that's already happening. And then you have tools like Spark, which the GitHub Next team is working on, which will kind of allow people to kind of enter in plain text. Well, I want to do this, and help kind of create smaller, mini apps to do those things completely in natural language. GitHub Workspace, which is similar, but also can bring, give the user a higher level of control involved with those systems too, can do that. And so I think that the primary thing right now, to answer your question in a very long-winded way, is still kind of completion. But it's, even in the last 3 months, the amount of code that can be generated and generated well has exponentially increased.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg said that he thought this year they would be able to replace senior engineers with an AI.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I think that maybe with the right instruction and with the right kind of babysitting, you might be able to have things that says, okay, create these things. I don't know, right? And he obviously has access to way more research than I do, and that certainly.
Well,
sounds
he
good to
also, and this
investors.
is something we have to remember about Sam and Mark and the whole gang, is they have a vested interest in selling this.
I was going to say, they do.
They're marketers.
They do.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, I'm trying to put some realism there. I think that some types of code you could generate, and in some ways, I even know just from using, systems like Copilot Chat or even like Claude to say, help me write, a regex that might be like a really difficult one. Like I did one a few weeks ago.
Yes. Yeah.
There was, I stumped it actually, and it took me a few back and forths to go with it. But the reasoning models were really interesting because they would run tests against it and then would say, well, that didn't quite work. Let me try this again. Well, that didn't quite work.
Isn't that fun to watch it think?
Yeah,
It's kind of amazing.
It is kind of amazing. But that was the sort of thing where I had to kind of go back and forth with a few prompts to get the correct regex.
Right.
Now, to be clear, it still took me, a fraction of the time it would have if I'd had to write that manually. These models are getting better and better. And so I think that with the right prompts and the right kinds of instructions, you might be able to get solutions that would match what whatever engineering level they're wanting to claim might do. But in terms of how much handholding will be involved in that, I think that the idea that you could just let these systems loose and just give them a very simple prompt and they would give everything back exactly as it's needed to be, I think that is not going to be accurate. I think that what is more likely is that these might just be more assistants that could work alongside senior engineers who know what they're doing, and they could go back through and kind of code review and go, okay, this was correct. Now I can move on to another task. But that's not the same thing as just being able to take an idiot off the street and say, oh, well, you can be, the person who just writes the instructions now. And we have this senior AI engineer who can write it all. And we don't need to worry about you being able to check if it's good or not, because
You don't think that's just around the corner? You don't think
I
that's
don't know
just
how
around
far
the
that
corner?
is. I mean, I don't know if it's in a year. 5 years, I wouldn't bet against that. But in a year, I don't know. I still feel like
I think it's going to happen
people
this
who can
year.
test things.
I think it's going to happen this year. I'm with Zuck. I know that that could well be hype, but I actually think we're very, very close. Remember, instructing a computer what to do. See, I think AI creating art, writing, music, pictures, that's one thing. That's a human skill that requires humanity. Coding is very much the opposite. It's telling a computer what to do. What better agent to do that than another computer? Right.
You're not wrong, but what I guess what I'm pushing back on is
and I
the
don't
idea.
mind. I mean, it's not like that. I mean, as much as I like to code, and as it is an art form for me, there isn't much future for artisanal coding in the world.
I guess what I'm pushing back on is how much someone who doesn't already have an understanding of what is being generated is correct or not. Like, if you're still going to need someone who can help do the review and make sure that things are being done the most efficient way, that you don't have lapses in security and whatnot. Because
I guess you could write tests. You could write test harnesses.
Of course you can. Of course, and you can run those tests. But I'm saying you still need someone who's going to know what a test is what I'm
just
getting to.
Just get Claude to write the code, and then O3-Mini to write the tests. And if they agree, everything's fine.
Yeah, that won't lead to any
Humans are
disasters at all.
notoriously bad at writing code, I should point out.
Yeah,
right.
We are. But I feel like because
It's
of
not
that,
like we're the paragons of perfection.
No, I just feel like that's why you try to have like actual as many eyes on something reviewing it as possible before
True.
things go out. And obviously, we could always have more of that. And I think that these systems, especially in automated natures, if they can look over stuff and go, hey, we saw this string and this seems malformed and this could be a security issue, alerting things in advance. I think that's an awesome opportunity and a use case we've already seen with some AI systems. I'm just saying, I think that this idea that we can just have these things running autonomously without having to have any human, interaction or checks at all, at least in the next year, I don't think that is going to be the case.
Why did you buy your R1? I want to ask both you and Shoshana what you thought that little orange thing was going to do for you. Was it just a curiosity, Shoshana?
Oh, I didn't buy one. I don't have that.
Oh, you have one. I'm sorry. Shoshana and I are the only ones who didn't. I tried, by the way, but my credit card was refused, so I did not get one. But I did try right when it was first announced. So, all right. Dan, why did you buy the R1? Was it just an experiment? Was it like me buying my little B computer?
It was, I mean, first of all, just fun. Like it was like,
cute.
It wasn't a crap ton of money. I like teenage
It's $200.
engineering.
Yeah, it was
And,
cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Still
I think that-
overpriced as it turned out, but it seemed cheap at the time.
Right. We just had a conversation about like how we put ChatGPT into our phone and talk to it. And, I can take a picture of stuff. And I mean, that's really what this represented in a fun design. And really the selling point was it came with a year of perplexity. So it was like,
Yeah.
well, if I'm going to pay for a year of perplexity anyway, then
That's a good
Get it
point.
free.
I
So-
didn't get it, but I did pay for the year of perplexity.
Did I know how fun the story of Rabbit would turn out to be? No, Leo, I didn't anticipate how incredibly entertaining the story would be. However, I mean, like, maybe it does feel a little obnoxious to my broke punk rock youth that I would have an extra 200 and some bucks to like blow on a thing that I don't care about. But like beyond that, whatever.
Well, these Meta glasses cost me that much, and they're equally.
They're fantastic.
But those are awesome.
Those are awesome. Are you kidding me? Those are the greatest things. I think the Meta glasses are great.
What do you use your Meta glasses for?
In a million years.
Just listening to music,
Meta is going to win
right?
the AI race.
Well, Apple. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, Apple has decided not to compete, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit.
Those look good.
Do you think they look good? I look a little nerdy in these.
No,
but I am listening to rap music while we're talking right now.
Amazing.
So, yeah. You can't hear it, but I can.
Listen to the Boys of Summer with your Wayfarers.
The Boys of
there
Summer.
you go. You got Wayfarers on.
Yeah. Got your.
Nice.
Oh, wait. Oh, hey, good.
Yeah.
Good catch. Let me see if I can get that to play Boys of Summer. Anyway. Christina, I'll find out why you bought that little orange doohickey in just a minute. You're watching. It's playing, I don't know what it's playing.
Is it doing it?
It's playing something.
Can you hear it even if you have a monitor in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Can you hear it? Sounds like Miles Davis. It's actually quite nice. Anyway, that's rude of me to listen to music while I'm talking. We'll have more with Shoshana Weissman, rstreet.org, Dan Patterson, blackbird.ai, and Christina Warren, an employer to be named later as we continue
Unemployed
this.
for one more day.
One more day. I'm glad you took a cruise. That's a good use of your time.
Yeah. It was
I'm a
fun.
little nervous about leaving the country. I'm afraid they might put a tariff on me when I come back. I don't know. I'm just nervous about leaving the country right now. I don't know if we'd be very welcome as we travel around. But the Bahamas, that's nice. Everybody loves you in the Bahamas. Right?
I went to the cruise lines
Private island. Yeah.
and that was it. I
No
didn't get off in
foreigners there.
Nassau.
Yeah.
No, I
No
didn't get off in
foreigners there.
Nassau. I've seen Nassau before. I was fine with that. I was like, I just want to be in a hot tub. I'm good.
The best time on a cruise ship is when everybody's gotten off Nassau and then you have the ship to yourself.
Exactly.
It's very nice, very pleasant. Our show today brought to you by a great sponsor. We've been with them for, I think, 7 or 8 years now. Thinkst Canary. It's looks about like a external USB drive. Plugs into the power and it has an Ethernet jack and plugs into your network. And what is it? It's a honeypot. Oh my, this Thinkst Canary is amazing. It's a honeypot that can be almost anything. And it is functionally, it looks to a bad guy, it looks exactly like the real deal. Mine's a Synology NAS, and it's even the MAC address is a Synology MAC address, and the user interface is DSM-7. It's you wouldn't know it's not real. Easy to deploy. I can in seconds make that be an IIS server, or I could make it be a Linux box. I could make it a SCADA device. Seriously, you can make it almost be anything. And it will always look like the real deal. It doesn't look vulnerable. It looks valuable to a bad person. So if someone is accessing your network, if they've gotten in through your perimeter defenses, or it's a malicious insider, snooping around, you're going to get the Thinkst Canary will immediately alert you. And by the way, let you know in whatever fashion you like. Text message, email, syslog. It supports webhooks, Slack. You can use an API. I mean, it's just any way you want. But the thing is, when you get an alert from your Thinkst Canary, you pay attention. These are only the alerts that matter. I mean, they also can make files, lures that you spread around that look like PDF files, Excel spreadsheets, whatever you call them. And mine are named things like employee information, something subtle that would make a bad guy sit up and take notice. But the minute they try to open it, same thing, your Thinkst Canary will let you know. So you choose a profile for your Thinkst Canary device, sprinkle some Thinkst Canary lure files around, register that with a hosted console for monitoring and notifications, and then you sit back and wait. An attacker who breaches your network or malicious insiders cannot help but make themselves known. They see this and they go, yeah, bingo. They tell their hacker buddies, we're in, right? And it's not what they think it is. It's a honeypot. And it's drawn them, and now you got them. I think these are the best things. Look, everybody's got the perimeter defenses. I do too, and all of that stuff going. But You also need something inside your network to let you know if you've been breached, because honestly, companies on average do not figure out they've been breached for 91 days, 3 months. And that means 3 months, a bad guy can be wandering around, exfiltrating data, looking for hiding places, doing anything they want to your network. You need to know when they're inside. Visit canary.tools/twit. I'll give you a pricing example. How many you need really depends on the size of your operation. Big banks might have hundreds of Thanks to Canaries spread all around. A small operation, just a handful like us. I'll give you an example. 5 Thanks to Canaries, okay? That's a pretty good number for your network. $7,500 a year. You get your own hosted console. You get upgrades. You get support. You get maintenance. Actually, if you use the offer code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box, you're going to get 10% off the price forever. If you're at all nervous, though, and I understand, maybe you've been thinking about it, but you've heard the ads, but you're not sure. You should know there is a 60-day, 2-month money-back guarantee for a full refund. So there's really no risk. I should tell you that in the 8 years that Thanks Canary's been advertising on this show, no one has ever asked for a refund. Nothing but happy customers. You can actually go to their website, canary.tools/love, and see all the love for Thanks to Canaries. Some of the smartest top names in security just love this thing. It's hard to do a honeypot on your own is non-trivial. I know because I've talked to the guys who wrote the first honeypot, Steve Bellevin, and we had Bruce Cheswick on, and he wrote the first honeypots. It was hard. No, it's trivial. It's easy. Canary.tools/twit. Don't forget the offer code TWIT in the How Did You Hear About Us box. We just think the world of these things, and we're really glad to be able to tell you about them. If you have a network, if you want to protect it, you need a Thanks to Canary. Canary.tools/twit. What did you buy your R1 for, Christina Warren?
It's very similar to Dan. I mean, the main thing was I didn't even know about the free Perplexity subscription when I bought it. I don't think that had been announced yet. So for me, it was just like they had announced it at CES, and I was like, this looks dumb, but it's teenage engineering, and
they designed the box. They didn't. Yeah, they weren't the company. Yeah. Right.
Oh, and I knew that. But I was just like, hey, it'll look cute next to my Playdate, which is also, teenage engineering and a much more useful little device, honestly. But awesome. The Playdate's fantastic. But are
they still selling it?
Yeah, the Playdate.
No, I know the Playdate. I have a Playdate.
The R1. I have no idea.
Yeah, I guess they are. Look. Yeah.
Good for them.
Buy now. You can ask it questions, really? Can you?
You can, but I mean, it works fine. It's just I think they got a little ahead of themselves in terms of how automated the stuff would be. But I was just like, okay, whatever, we'll do it. And then they were like, oh, and you'll get a free year Perplexity. I was like, well, that would cost as much as the device did. And then it became, to Dan's point, like funny. Also, as you know, Leo, I like to collect like effed company or potentially effed company things.
Defunct stuff.
Tech. And I was like, look, this is going to be great. This is going to come in favor someday. And look,
what other defunct tech have you acquired lately?
Well, lately, not much. But what was interesting is that I found, and I have it around here somewhere. I don't know if I'll be able to find it or not. But I had a Pebble. I have a number of Pebbles.
Oh,
Pebble's
awesome.
They're back, baby.
That's what I was going to say. And so I was so excited about that because I was like, oh, I have like a brand new unboxed Pebble Steel that I got at a conference, like a monogrammed one. Wow. I have a bunch of Pebbles because I interviewed Eric a lot back in the day, and I was an early backer of theirs. I was a big fan of what they've done. And I was so excited when I saw the news this week when I was on my cruise that Pebble is coming back and that Google open sourced the old OS. And I was like, that's fantastic. I'm going to
actually Micah interviewed Eric for Tech News Weekly this week.
Awesome.
And they're talking about the fact that he opens, I think this is so great. I don't know why more companies don't do this. Open sourced the Pebble software, and Eric Mijakovsky, who founded it, said, we're going to even make Pebbles again. Because Google, which bought Pebble and incorporated some of it, into the Google Watch.
Well, Fitbit bought Pebble, bought most of Pebble
Google then
assets,
bought
and
Fitbit.
Google bought Fitbit. So,
Okay.
so
You're right.
so
I left that a stage. Okay.
So it took from, I mean, and Mike interviewed him, so he would know more than me, but from based on the things I read, like it took, maybe finding the right people at Google and asking, would you be willing to open source this? And they did, which I think is amazing. And now I think they're all working to say, okay, can we get these things to build? Can we get the firmware to build? Because, a lot of these systems might be, 8 or 9 years old. But then they can go from there. And yeah, Eric's talking about, making hardware again. And
he told Micah, he said, I decided to start making a new Pebble Watch hardware awesome. That will run the Pebble OS. By the way, I wish more companies did what Google did, which is, okay, we're not going to use it. Let's open source it. Let's let it free. I think that's exactly what you should do. I wish we saw that more often instead of just killing products. Mijikovsky said, we're going to do this a little bit differently this time. The name of the game is sustainability. I'm not sure what that means.
I think that means not trying to go immediately from you have your Kickstarter kind of backers and people who are interested in it to being in Best Buy stores to trying to take on Apple Watch, right?
Yeah.
I think that what he's written before about kind of why Pebble failed was, it was this perfect kind of moment when it launched, and it was a very good product. I thought the design was very good, and I thought, especially for the price point, it was a very good smartwatch. But then you immediately had competition from the Android stuff, and especially the Apple Watch, and they tried
Google
to
just didn't
kind of
seem
take
to
on
have,
that on.
Yeah, Google just didn't. I don't know. They bought Fitbit and then they incorporate little bits of it, but they didn't really continue on with the mission. I guess that happens. Big companies buy little companies. Well, I'm glad that Eric was able to get the code back, and
me too.
I'm thrilled.
It was
an e-ink. Wasn't it an e-ink display?
Yeah, it's e-ink display, and so it had great battery life and a very, very robust developer community from the beginning who were building things around it, and they even hired some of the people who kind of worked on the kind of the community side to work for Pebble, the company when they were starting up, because I remember the early days when the first version came out, it was just on Kickstarter, and then it broke a lot of records, and the number of people who would just create their own little watch faces and little apps and even really robust iOS apps. It always worked a little bit better on Android, but you had some really good iOS apps and integrations too. And the community of hackers around the community was just fantastic. Yeah. And I'm excited to see that ethos kind of return, because I feel like there is a place for it. It doesn't have to be something that sells millions and millions of units. It can have kind of a small community of users who likes it and hopefully sustains it, which is exciting.
A lot of people in our community who have one. Dominic says, I just took my Pebble Time out of the drawer after hearing the news. It still works great. He's in our YouTube chat. In our Discord, Gramages is still managing to keep a Pebble Steel alive. Only smartwatch I've ever liked.
Yeah. It was great. And what's interesting is that the original idea for it started as a companion for a BlackBerry, because Eric,
oh my God,
because
it is retro. Yeah,
because Eric is from the university. He's Canadian. He went to the University of Waterloo, and he had kind of an idea of having it be a BlackBerry companion sort of thing, and kind of hacked up a kind of proof of concept, I think, with a BlackBerry Bold. And then a few years later, they came up with the concept, put it on Kickstarter, and then it went from there.
I'm trying to remember if I had a Pebble watch. It's long gone. It feels kind of like a retro. It's like a Zippo lighter or something. It kind of
kind of. Well, what was cool is the original one, like the steel looked a little more professional, and the round had a good look. But the original one kind of looked like a Swatch watch. It was just kind of plastic, but you could get them in different colors, and people would even make little wraps for them and whatnot. And Eric was kind enough to give me a pink one.
My goodness.
Once. So I backed one on Kickstarter, and then I received a number of others over the years, and he gave me a pink one once, which was very kind of him. I hope I have that somewhere.
Have you been schlepping all this stuff all over the country?
Yeah. I'm a hoarder. What can I say?
See, I give it all away, and now I'm kind of regretting it. I used to remember in the old studio, I had a museum.
Yeah, you had all the stuff. Yeah.
And I gave it all away. This is all that's left. A PDP-11?
I was going to say that's an Altair, but that's an Altair, isn't it?
It's Altair. Yeah, it's a fake one, but it's a pretty good recreation. That's a real Mac, original Mac, 128K Mac though.
Oh my gosh! Is that I was going to say, is that the Berkeley Systems After Dark or whatever?
After Dark still works. Still got the flying toasters.
Amazing.
I am not going to throw these glasses away. Although Apple, according to Bloomberg, according to Mark Gurman on Bloomberg, has decided to can its AR glasses project, which surprises me.
Yeah, me too.
Is it? I mean, clearly they don't think the Vision Pro is the future, or do they?
They can't. Come on, they can't.
Come on, guys.
They can't.
So it seems to me that Apple's, by killing their, remember, these were going to be glasses like the Orion glasses that Meta is developing that look like regular glasses, but have a heads-up display and so forth. The one that they were working on tied to a Mac, which is a little bit of a disadvantage. You're not walking down the street with it, but it's the first step. It seems to be that if they give that up, that must be kind of tacit admission that there's not much future with VR, AR either, right? With mixed reality at all.
Oh, it could also be directly tied into or very related to their position in the AI race. I mean, those Meta Ray-Bans are only, it is only AI that makes them do the cool stuff that they do.
Right.
And I mean, Meta is a leader with Llama. It's undeniable that Llama is one of the best models, and Meta has a ton of exclusive data that nobody else has between all of their social apps. So I mean, if I'm Apple, I maybe sit here and I think, well, you know, the Vision Pro is a boondoggle, and we don't have enough data to, at least, I mean, everything, like you said, Leo's from Apple Intelligence is running on device. That's great, but on device on your glasses
doesn't do much.
Is hard.
Yeah. Well, these, I mean, the Meta glasses do tie to an app on the phone.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but
Apple
your phone is a lot of computing power and a lot of storage and a lot of RAM. I mean, these things are really mini computers, supercomputers. It's just in some ways in your pocket, and they're always connected. I mean, it seems to be this is a perfect match. Apple is going to announce new. It's Apple, but it's the what do you call them? Headphones, not the. They're not AirPods. Sorry, no, the other ones. God, I've forgotten the name. Dr. Dre's Beats. Thank you.
Beats.
They're going to this week. They're going to announce an update to the Beats that will do heart rate monitoring, which the AirPods do not do yet. So that's interesting. It sounds like maybe Apple's thinking that the future is not in vision, but in the ears.
Or wearables in general.
Well, but that's the thing. They're killing the glasses wearable.
Yeah.
Which surprises me, frankly.
I mean, it's also possible that there could be two things, right? It's possible that they could be killing maybe that particular version, but there might still be dedicated to doing some sort of glasses or some sort of AR, VR thing, but maybe that particular implementation, they just aren't committed to, but they might be having something else, right? The fact that it was tethered to the Mac might be a deal breaker. And maybe they are looking at like ultimately having something that can either, you know, sync with a phone or do something else wirelessly where you don't have to have that kind of accessory component. I don't know.
I mean, you start by connecting it to a Mac. That's obviously not the long-term future, but it makes sense to develop it, you know, from that point forward. There's basically a little Mac in your Vision Pro. That's why they're $3,500.
Right, and
why you
why
have to have a battery pack. And
I was going to say you have to have the attachment, and so you know, but so I don't know. I'm just saying, like I could see them, you know, maybe. And they could always revisit that idea later on too. So I don't know. They've invested a lot in Vision Pro and in this AR VR thing. It would be odd for them to give up so quickly. I wouldn't necessarily say it would be a bad thing because I don't think Vision Pro is it, but it would be odd for them to give up that quickly. But at the same time, I think that it's undoubtable. Like AirPods are one of the best things that have happened. You know, I think they're one of the best products that Apple's introduced. Period. And, you know, the AirPod Pro 2s, my mom and my dad are both using the hearing aid mode. And
really? Do they like it?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, my mom really enjoys it. My dad, I'm still having a hard time getting him to use the in-ear things.
Did they have regular hearing aids ever, or was this in lieu of a hearing aid?
This was in lieu of. I've been trying to get my dad to get hearing aids for a long time, and I've faced a lot of pushback on it.
Yep.
My mom isn't quite at the point where she would need them, but even having a fairly decent, hearing test built in just to kind of show what sort of loss there is was helpful. And she loves her AirPods and she wears them all the time anyway, because she's always listening to podcasts around the house. And so having that mode on has been really great. But for my dad, we were even noticing, I got them for him for Christmas. Like it's like the third time I've bought him AirPods, and he finally has tried them for more than like 30 minutes.
You just do not give up, do you?
I mean, at this point, I was just like, this could really help you, Dad. And I really wanted him to get hearing aids for a long time.
How deaf is he? Is it pretty clearly?
It's not at the point where I think it's not like at the point where they are basically like, we will be of no help to you. But it's I guess whatever the level higher than moderate is. Yeah. So it's definitely could be useful. So
and how about your mom? Does she have?
She's like moderate or light. I think in some
and she thinks the AirPods are good enough to be hearing aids for. Yeah,
for her I think so. I think what's great about it, honestly, is that there are a lot of people who will never take a hearing test and might not even be aware of
I agree 100%.
How things can be improved. Yeah. And it could be a boon, right? And they're over the counter. Could you get better ones? Of course you could. But for a lot of people, it might be better than nothing. And if anything,
they're not bad.
Reduce the stigma.
I wear $7,000 Oticon hearing aids. And that's a lot of money for people to pay. And I tried the AirPods Pro, and they do pretty much the same thing. That there's really one difference, which is normal hearing aids don't block your hearing. They don't seal your ears. They just sit little speaker in your ears to amplify voices. The rest of the stuff still comes in. When you're wearing the AirPods Pro, you're kind of sealed out, even with transparency mode. You're relying on them for all the audio, and that's a kind of a different. And I don't like it quite as much, but it does the job, and it's for $250 instead of $7,000.
Well, that's the thing, right? And then it already has the Bluetooth built in. I'm sure yours have your.
Oh yeah, I can use them as support. All of that stuff. Yeah.
But sometimes you have to get like the attachments to your TV, the
voice coil and all that stuff. Yeah.
And right, exactly, and so I feel like for a lot of people, especially since Medicaid or whatever doesn't often cover hearing aids, and so you have to pay out of pocket and. I think
very little insurance coverage. You'd have to have really spectacular coverage. Medicare does not cover
exactly.
Aids, yeah.
Medicare. Excuse me. I always get them confused. I think it's great to bring more of these sensors to things. What's interesting is I guess they don't have the same. I guess patent issue with doing the heart rate and monitoring and whatnot in ears.
Massimo. Well, that was blood oxygen. These are the Beats. These will come out February 11th. These new Power Beats Pro 2, and they have the same chip that's in the AirPods, but they do something the AirPods do not do. They have the W2 chip or H2 chip, sorry, but they do also have heart rate monitoring, which Apple has yet to do in the AirPods. So I'm thinking of buying a pair just to see how they. And I like having the over-the-ear thing.
I was going to say the Power Beats have always been really, really good for anybody who wants to work out a little bit more, right? Because you wouldn't I've got AirPods in right now. I would not want to. If I were on the treadmill like Shoshana, I would probably be okay with them. But I would not want to be going.
Shoshana, you're on a treadmill right now?
No, she's not.
Right
she
now.
was talking. But she was earlier. She was talking about
not that you know of.
I was impressed.
I wanted to get a little bit of cool down. I thought I could get another 1,000.
But that would probably be okay. But I would be concerned if I were going for something more strenuous.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas the Power Beats are great, and I guess that's why they're introducing that.
It's interesting. $250. So they're the same price as the Pros, basically, right? February 11th.
Cool.
New colors, including orange, in case you want everyone to know.
Orange.
Impressive orange. That's what Mark called it. And I don't know if that's the name Impressive Orange, although that would be a good color name. That's a Samsung name. Impressive Orange. We are almost exactly 1 year in on the Vision Pro. And I'm just wondering if Apple's killing the AR glasses. But, what Mark says is that executives didn't want to have them attached to a Mac because that's not portable, but they found it drained the iPhone battery if you have it attached to the iPhone, so they needed the Mac for the processing and the power. But look, the Vision Pro wasn't exactly a consumer product either. You have to start somewhere. if they're killing the AR glasses, I wonder what their commitment to the Vision Pro is a year in.
Yeah.
I just think also like the glasses didn't have a great like regular person appeal. I think I might be wrong on this, but I think it was Meta that did a commercial where you have some model just like swirling around with her glasses on to show, look at me, I have glasses.
See?
And she's like very like high end wearing clothes that look terrible, but like in the way that it's like high end. And like she like translates some Spanish that says there's a party, and like she goes to a freaking party. But like none of that is like relatable to a person. Like they're not going to be going to parties in other countries that often. Like that's not a regular through your day thing. And I feel like there's other ways to get people interested, but I just think all of them have done pretty crappy jobs at marketing, because it's, again, you're not a model, you're not wearing crappy clothes, and you're not going to parties in other countries. Like when I'm watching that, I'm like, why the hell do I need this? I don't get it.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Shoshana. That was exactly, you reminded me of that early iPod commercial that was relatability, human, like making the iPod look human and relatable. With
more than human, cool, right?
Right, cool. It was like could you see like the iPod commercial for the Vision Pro?
You don't look cool wearing a nerd helmet. I'm sorry.
No, you don't. Well, not only that, but like it's heavy on your face. Like my biggest concern, I didn't buy one for a lot of reasons, and almost none of them were the price. I mean, the price was part of it, but it was mostly because I couldn't live with myself looking at it not being used and knowing how much I spent on it. It really didn't have anything to do with like, oh, and because I'll spend $200 and never use it again. Fine, but like $4,000, that's a little much. But like I didn't want it on my face because I'm like, this is gonna leave marks. This is gonna leave marks. This is gonna like be bad for like my circulation, like this is going to be a problem for wrinkles, for all kinds of things.
Your posture, exactly. If it's like that heavy on your head, like, oh my God.
Well, I mean, somebody, Scooter X in our Discord is saying, well, they just killed that one product. I don't know. I mean, that product is a stepping stone to continued AR glasses development. It's hard to tell. It's Mark Gurman. It's a rumor. It's not, Apple's not announced it. So it's hard to tell, but he says, literally, this is a quote from the Mark Bloomberg Power On newsletter. The company just canceled plans for a pair of AR glasses that would pair with a Mac. The ultimate goal of making standalone spectacles with augmented reality is probably at least 3 to 5 years away. So he implies that they're still working on it. It's hard to tell. This is a leak. It's not an announcement from Apple, and Apple never talks about unreleased products. So we will never know.
Thank goodness they didn't hire a swirling model that they'll have to fire now. Like, I would feel really bad for her if she had to go like find another job where she could wear bad clothes and swirl, you know?
He raises a larger issue, which is that Apple is really failing at AI, and that Apple is not impressing people with Apple Intelligence. Their advertising capabilities that aren't even in the phone yet that are coming. He says the AI and machine learning division, which acronym is AIML, is mocked by employees as aimless. The group, Gurman writes, has missed several deadlines, and its large language models are less powerful than those of rivals. And it is true, if you play with Apple Intelligence as it stands today, it is unimpressive, to say the least.
You know what? It's actually really interesting to me that I don't think Apple Intelligence, I don't have an iPhone, but I don't think Apple Intelligence does this. And I don't think Google phones are doing this either. It's something super obvious for AI to help with. Scam texts. Why isn't it help identifying a scam text and other scam interactions on your phone?
You're right. They're not.
Yeah.
That's like such a perfect use of AI, something like everyone would love, I think, and even say, this is experimental, take it with a grain of salt, but like we want, and you can turn this off, whatever.
We think this is spam. We think this is incorrect. And you're exactly right, because they already have signals of who's in your contact list, and people you frequently communicate with, even if they're not in your address book, they should know presumably the language when you report, that this is incorrect, that they could train their model based on those types of things.
Instead, they're doing notification summaries that are basically useless. Here's the one from my Ring. Silly. There was a person at your front door multiple times.
Oh my gosh, awesome. You know what's wild? I saw a commercial for Ring where they're like, it was like I don't know pop culture, but it was the two famous, like Amy Poehler and someone else, and
Tina Fey.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, what was the tacos we got the other night? And they're like, we can search Ring. I'm like, that's creepy. I don't want a full record of like everyone.
The doorbell knows.
The doorbell knows. Oh, I can zoom in. I remember I saw that commercial. I had the same response because I saw that commercial too, and they're like, oh, I'm going to zoom in on what type of bag it was. I'm like, just go through your DoorDash history.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like this isn't.
And
this
do you
isn't
really
a
want your
problem that needs
doorbell
solving?
to know all this? Yeah.
No, I don't. I'm already bothered that my neighbors have Ring, and so that means that they can give my stuff to the cops anyway. Like that already bothers me, right? Like that, I'm already very bothered by that, and I can't do anything to stop it. But like now, Ring is like just fully leaning into it. Oh yeah, we are absolutely a surveillance device. Zoom in and see what brand of tacos. Again, just open up your DoorDash history. It's easy.
Their other commercials were bad, but like where they're like, oh, it's what happens in your life. See, when you guys got excited over your daughter getting into college, like that was creepy enough. But I'm like, this isn't, you have this elsewhere. Like you have a checking account, you have a credit card, you can go online, worst case, and check out where you paid for tacos. Like this isn't, like Ring's not helping you. It's just surveilling you.
No, if anything, I would be like, that would be a much better use case for like the bee thing that Leo is wearing, right?
Yeah.
Where I would be like, well, I opted into this and I knew that this is what this is doing. So if I could be like, where did I order tacos from before, right? Like, great.
Yeah, see, to me, that's one of the advantages of this.
That's what I'm saying.
Is I can say,
good.
Hey, Lisa and I were talking about something the other day. What was the name of that? Or that's valuable, I think.
That is, and but again, I think the difference is it's like you go into it with that expectation, and you go into it with this product is doing this.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas this is my doorbell. You know.
I have a Ring doorbell, I have to say, but I have like 2 cameras on my front door. I also have a Ubiquiti
you have someone
camera.
else's too. Ubiquiti,
yeah. So I have lots of information. In fact, I just saw Amazon drop off a package, so I'll be right back. And no, I'm going to stay here. Just have to think about what it might be. How exciting. Apple did have quarterly results that looked pretty good on the surface. They made a ridiculous amount of money.
Most money ever.
Yeah, there always is. Every quarter is the most money ever. They made, what was it? It was the equivalent of something like $8 billion a month. They were making $2 billion a week that's revenue. Profit was only $1 billion a week.
Only.
That's kind of mind-boggling. So it's not like they're hurting, but there were signs of trouble in paradise. China, iPhone sales down 11%, which is probably going to get worse, I would imagine, with tariffs and so forth. Actually, Apple's got to be a little bit worried. The last time, in the last Trump administration, he did announce tariffs on Chinese goods, and Tim Cook went to him and said, if you tariff the iPhone, people are just going to buy Samsung phones. You're punishing an American company and rewarding a South Korean company. Do you want to do that? Trump backed down. But he's talking again about tariffs for everything coming out of China. He's also talking about apparently tariffs against Taiwanese chip makers, which is specifically, I think, targeted at TSMC, which makes the chips in the iPhone and the Mac and the iPad, the primary processing system on a chip in those devices, could raise the cost of iPhones significantly. There's some headwinds for Apple, I guess. I'm not making stock recommendations. I neither buy nor sell tech stocks, and I certainly don't recommend you listen to me when it comes to the stock market. But just as a business, I think Apple they're feeling like they're getting a little behind. Now, they've been there before and come back. Is Apple in trouble?
And define trouble.
Yeah.
They are a $3.5 trillion company, so they can afford a little trouble.
I don't think they're in trouble. I don't think that anyone would argue that they are leading the conversation when it comes to AI.
Or virtual reality or any of the next generation of technologies, right?
Sure. No, right. But I don't think anyone would argue that. But they are still the most valuable company in the world, and they still make like you said, $1 billion in profit every week and $8 billion in revenue. I think that it was interesting to see, based on conversations with people that I know, I think that a lot of the push for Apple Intelligence was relatively quick, and that's one of the reasons why it's taken a long time for some of the things to show up, and that things weren't maybe finalized. And I think that so they were kind of reacting almost defensively. So I think that, Apple has been there before, as you mentioned. They've definitely been seen as being behind in certain scenarios and come out okay. I don't know if their own models and what they're doing with AI I don't know if it is going to be able to be competitive, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be. It might not be right now, but we're at the beginning of this era. I don't think that anybody is finalized yet. I mean, the whole market freaked out because of, R1. Apple was relatively insulated from that, which is
true.
A good thing. That's
a good point. It hurt Nvidia, it hurt Microsoft, it hurt all of the AI companies, but Apple, because they're not a player, didn't hurt them.
They're kind of like not part of it. But also they're building their own hardware, which I think is important, right? So they also have a little bit of insulation, whereas they kind of have this cold war with Nvidia, although they have made some conversations about working together, I guess, in some small context, but Nvidia hardware is never going to be in Apple machines, right? And so I think that, like I said, I don't think they're leading, but I don't know if I would say that they're in trouble.
It doesn't necessarily matter. They're famous not for not being the first to market with anything, right?
No, absolutely. I would be more bothered if, let me put it this way. I want to wait until we can see what they're going to kind of show off at WWDC and what statements they say in the future. If there aren't looking like they are, kind of making investments in some ways, at the very least for some of these other models to interact on their systems, if the user chooses to allow them to, then I would be bothered by some of those directions. But I think it's too early to be doom and gloom about them.
Let me correct the numbers I gave out. Apple revenue, $124 billion for the year. Is that, wait a minute, no, for the quarter. So that is $1 billion a week, but that's revenue. Profit, I'm sorry, was only $36 billion. So that's $1 billion a week. So it's still a lot of money. 46% margin is a pretty good margin on your business.
What was so interesting then versus now with Apple is they were always late to market, but they came to market with a great product that fit what consumers wanted, was simple, and did something that was useful and easy to understand. Let's go back to that iPod example. Think of those dancing commercials. The iPod was iconic because it was simple. It was easy to understand. The same with the iPhone. Even the iPad, people mocked, but it was pretty easy to understand. When we get into VR and AR territory, we've said this a million times, but who's the market? What is this? Why? Who cares?
Right.
And I don't mean that in a flippant way, but I mean, who cares? If I were in a meeting, with you. I would say, who cares? Who is the market for this? And what is the plan? What is the goal? Where are we going?
And it's not like you can't run all of the AI models on an iPhone. I mean, I have ChatGPT, I have Claude, I have everything on here.
I mean, that's why they're saying the M4 is so great, because local processing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but I'm not running it locally. When I run DeepSeek, it's going to China. It's going straight to China.
Right. But you could do some of those things. No, but I think that's a great point, Dan. Like, who are these things for? And how is it being positioned? And I don't think they nailed that. Whereas the other things, they had a very clear target. With AI, I feel like, because the first what's come out hasn't been very polished and hasn't had a great experience, people have kind of a negative, line through it. And Siri already has a bad reputation, deservedly so.
She's just gotten stupider.
How did they let that happen? I mean,
well, it's my attitude that it's because Apple's decided that they want to be the privacy company, and that as long as you are unwilling to, release that information to the world, you're never going to have AIs that's as smart. So they've hobbled themselves by deciding to protect the privacy of their users. Now, users will get to decide which they want. Do they want, Are they on the one hand going to be putting a device that listens to everything and sends it to China? Or on the other hand, are they going to keep it all on their phone and keep it private and have less intelligence?
That's
a choice.
Right. And I think that's exactly where Apple is positioning themselves right now, which is really interesting in the middle. You can make that choice and you will continue to make that choice. They're pushing the M4 and you can process locally, but they integrate with OpenAI. Right. Anyway, I'm just saying it's an interesting position for them. It's new.
It is. And I don't think it's, it certainly hasn't hurt them yet. We'll see.
I think it's kind of like in the do everything social media era where Snapchat is like, hey, politicians, come onto our platform and reach kids. And it's like, what? No one is on Snapchat to like check on Hillary Clinton, make sure she's chill. Like that wasn't a thing. And I think you're getting that with like some AI stuff that it's like there was a meme of a place, and I think it was a real place called, but what was it like Coffee GPT or Cafe GPT or something like that? It was like ridiculous, but we're gonna be in that era for a little bit of like AI for like your hair or like just dumb. Era. Yeah, it's just really stupid stuff, and I think some companies are flailing because this is understandably like a bigger buy-in because it's like social media has wide applications, but AI is even far wider applications for all kinds of things. So like they want to be in it, but like they don't know why. It's like how Pokemon was so popular and like parents didn't understand it, or like it's like a trend that they can't get their hands around for the trend part, but they're forgetting like the trend's not why you sell your stuff. The purpose of how it's used for people is why you sell your stuff.
Right.
iPod was 1,000 songs in your pocket, and this is like AI assistant in your pocket. Like, one is cool, the other is like AI.
Yeah.
But if you said all of human knowledge in your pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Much better. Much better. You win. Fine.
Yeah.
Christina, you win.
An expert in your pocket. Ask them anything, and they know, and they can answer.
Wait. No. 1,000 songs is still cooler. Less useful, but cooler.
It was cooler.
Well, it was cool, but I really do think if you sold it as like everything, all of human knowledge in your pocket, or get
totally.
Information what you want, I think that would be cool. I still think the music is cooler, but you could. But I think that's how you'd have to position it. And instead, it's kind of like this weird thing, like, oh, we're going to help you with your writing, but it doesn't really. And we're going to summarize stuff, but in kind of an annoying way. And the summaries take up more space than just the subject line would on the emails. And I'm like, how do I turn this off? But I don't want to turn it off because I need to know how all this stuff works. And yeah.
I have to, unfortunately, I take a break. I don't want to interrupt because it's a great conversation. Hold that thought, put a pin in your head, and we will continue in just a moment. You're watching This Week in Tech, our weekly tech news roundtable. You're going to hear a lot of AI in all of our shows, of course, but we have now an AI show starting Wednesday. This Week in Google mutates into intelligent machines. Jeff Jarvis, Paris Martineau, and I will talk about AI with AI experts, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope we'll see you on Wednesday. This week's Twit is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. According to research, a major challenge many employers face is the pressure to hire quickly. It's so funny because when you put it that way, it's very sterile. But I can tell you as an owner of a small business, when somebody leaves your company and it's a small company, that's a crisis because you have now 2 weeks to find somebody to replace them, or you're going to have to do their job. It is, and while you're trying to do their job, you're scrambling to hire. It's very difficult. It's a tough hurdle to overcome because it's so time consuming to search for great candidates, to search through applications. That's why when people leave our employ, and it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes somebody says, well, I got a job closer to home or whatever. We go to ZipRecruiter. If you're an employer, have you ever tried ZipRecruiter? It is incredible. They have figured out how to solve that crisis where you've got to fill that position. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. It's been our experience that it's within just a few hours. We'll post, Lisa will post the job at breakfast. Now, what happens immediately? A couple of things that make ZipRecruiter great. First of all, that post goes everywhere. More than 100 job boards automatically, social, everywhere. So you're casting the widest net, which means you're going to get a lot of applicants. And by the way, they don't call you and they don't go to your inbox. They go to the ZipRecruiter interface where they actually reformat resumes so you can scan them quickly. They have screening questions. They have a lot of tools to make it very quick and easy to rank. But then something else happens that's really cool. ZipRecruiter, people come looking for work to ZipRecruiter, so they have more than 1 million current resumes on file. They use AI then to look at those resumes, look at your requirements, and make matches. And they will actually, within an hour or two, give you a list of people who are looking for work who fit your requirements. You can then rank them, rate them, and invite the best ones to apply. That does a couple of things. First of all, and you probably know this if you've ever looked for a job, if a company comes to you and says, hey, we like you. We would like you to come to work for us. You go right to the top of the pile, right? I'm going to apply to that company because everybody wants to be liked. So in a competitive environment, and it is very competitive now to hire the best people, you're going to go right to the top. You're also going to get great candidates fast. By lunch, Lisa's going, oh, hey, here's a great one. I mean, we're worried, right? How are we going to fill this position? Oh, here's a great one. Oh, here's another great one. We would literally, by noon, have 2 or 3 really excellent candidates thanks to ZipRecruiter. Right now, you could try it for free, too. So give it a shot. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. G2 says ZipRecruiter is the hiring site employers prefer the most, and I would agree. That's what we use. How fast does ZipRecruiter's smart technology start showing your job to qualified candidates? Right away. To the largest pool as possible. That way you're most likely to reach the person, the one perfect person, and fill that job fast. So take it easy. Relax, employers. Let ZipRecruiter take a load off. Speed up your hiring. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/twit. Try it for free. That's the same price as a genuine smile from a stranger. Or a picture-perfect sunset, or a cute dog running up to you and licking your hand. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. And I know from personal experience. ZipRecruiter.com/twit. We thank them so much for supporting This Week in Tech. Survey's over, right, Benito? This is it. They stopped it on Friday, I think.
Yeah, we're
so
done.
Thank you for everybody who submitted surveys. We appreciate it. There's still a way you can help us, and that's by joining the club. We have advertisers. We have great advertisers, but they don't cover the full cost of what we do. For that, we need your support. And I am very pleased to say we have 12,000 club members. It really is great. We keep it affordable, $7 a month. You get ad-free versions of the shows. You don't have to listen to ads. Even this pitch, you don't have to hear if you don't want to. Although I know a lot of people still listen to the ad-supported versions for some reason. You also get special events that we do. You get access to our Club Twit Discord with really smart, fun, interesting people talking about all the nerd topics. I think it's a great club to be part of, and it really helps us keep the lights on, pay our staff. It is not cheap to do what we do, and I feel pretty strongly. I mean, I'm ready to retire. I've saved up. I could retire, but I feel like more than ever, the next few years are going to see some remarkable developments in tech. And I think it's really important that we as consumers, as users, as people impacted by tech, understand it. And that's what I think our job is. And I want to do that job as best we possibly can. So please join the club and help us do that. twit.tv/clubtwit. And I thank you in advance. And I thank all of our fantastic club members. Is Taylor Swift going to win a Grammy tonight, by the way?
I don't think so.
No. She doesn't have a new album.
Well, no, she did have a new album, The Torture Pose Department, and it was a good album. But the problem is she won last year for a not great album, in my opinion, which she won for the Eras Tour. And the album she did release, there's a lot of competition, and she already won last year.
Who's got Record of the Year and Album of the Year? Who's going to win? Who are the big winners? I don't know any of these people's names.
I mean, there's a big push for Beyonce to win one of the big ones, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I think Chappell Roan had a really good year.
She had a great year.
She had a great year. Yeah. I mean, that would be kind of my pick for some of the stuff. But
Well, we're going to get this show over before the Grammys start, so you can you can watch. We are missing, though. Apparently, right now, OpenAI is doing a stream of some kind that they announced at the last minute. I don't know what they're announcing, but if anybody's watching that at the same time as you're watching the show, you can fill us in. They're not streaming it on X. We are. We got 400 people watching us on X. Hey, everybody. We stream. Did I mention? I didn't mention this. We stream in 8 different venues now as we do the show live. The show's never been really, it's not a TV show. We don't expect you to watch live, but if you want to, you can. 2 p.m. Pacific on Sundays on YouTube, Twitch, X.com, Kick, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok. We're on TikTok. And I'm missing one. There's 8 of them. What else am I missing? Twitch, YouTube. Anyway, you can watch us live. We are live. As I said, 400 people watching us on Twitch. But I don't see the OpenAI thing. So I don't know where they're doing that stream. Let me see if it's on their website. They've been, yeah, there it is. They've been really active in the last, Deep Research is introducing Deep Research. Okay. So isn't that what DeepSeek is? Is Deep Research that kind of reasoning?
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep you filled in, and we'll talk about it on Wednesday, won't we, kids? What was I had something for you that I was gonna ask you about, but now I've knocked. Oh, here it is. We were talking about X. Elon's done a deal with Visa. They're gonna have X money. Elon's always said he wanted to turn X into the everything app, right? And the first thing would be financial services. He said on this week on Tuesday that he struck a deal with Visa to be the first partner for what they're calling the X Money account. Visa will let X users move funds between traditional bank accounts and their digital wallet, make instant peer-to-peer payments, kind of like Venmo or Zelle. Do you trust Elon and X to make your financial worries go away?
I kind of trust Visa. I trust Visa.
I was surprised that Visa said yes.
I don't think they're going to mess it up. Like,
the world has changed.
No, it's true. I just
January
feel
20th.
like Visa is probably going to keep stuff like in some. I'm not that good at this kind of coding at all. I can like HTML it a little bit, but I'm sure they're going to keep some stuff in a container away from like where it can be harmed, because they know that would really mess with their brand reputation. Plus, like, I forgot which freaking agency was going after them, and it was for something totally stupid, but they still.
He's suing all the other advertisers for boycotting him. I don't know if you can sue
advertising.
I don't think I could sue people who don't advertise on Twit. Could I?
I mean, maybe you just aren't trying hard enough, Leo. Like, I mean,
I don't even understand the rationale. How do you sue people for not buying ads?
I guess the argument is that they have been pushing others not to advertise with them, right? So it might not be enough that like Nestle and Lego and whoever are being like, we don't want to give you money, but by being part of some consortium, they're encouraging others not to advertise. I still feel like that's a speech issue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I still feel like
Can you believe he's
speech
suing?
issue?
I can understand suing Nestle, but suing Lego. That's like, I don't know. That's like suing Mom or Apple Pie. Of course, they are Danish. Maybe it's part of the overall anti-Danish movement in the United States.
That makes sense.
The suit targeted the World Federation of Advertisers, which immediately dissolved, by the way.
I respect that.
I do. Like, find us.
I've actually seen that in other cases, in residential cases where like there's like an entity like an HOA or whatever that's like, bye, like, okay,
we don't exist, sue us. He started this in federal court last year. In CVS, he sued Twitch. Early on Saturday, they amended the complaint yesterday to include Lego, Nestle, Tyson Foods, the chicken maker. Well, they don't make chickens. God makes chickens, but Tyson slaughters them and brings them to your door. Abbott Laboratories, Colgate-Palmolive, Pinterest, and Shell.
They're going after everybody. I mean, like Pinterest is such a weird one. Like Shell, okay, want to really get into the war with the oil companies. All right.
I think Elon's feeling a little empowered right now. It's become apparently clear that Elon has moved in to the Office of Personnel Management, that the letter, the email that was sent out to government employees saying, you could quit in September, we'll pay you through then, you don't have to do anything, was actually Elon. It was almost identical to the letter that he sent to ex-employees, that it was from Elon's people. I think he feels empowered at this point. Not sure that that's a good thing.
I think he is empowered. I think he is empowered. I think
he's got the president on his side.
He does. Now, how long this bromance will last before the egos?
I thought they would have broken up by now, but we did have a pool, and I went back and checked, and I said by June. So I have a few more months.
You have a few more months. You have 6 more months. You've got some time, but like, I don't think he feels empowered. I mean, I think that we should just call a spade a spade. I think he is empowered.
He is. Yeah, he is. He's the first friend or something. I just want to point out that Goldman Sachs is trying to get desperately out of the Apple Card deal. They made a deal, of course, they're the bank behind the Apple Card. They say they've lost $1 billion. I don't know how you lose $1 billion on a credit card. Company? Yeah, I don't. Takes a unique ability.
Did they not have a credit limit? Like, were they just like spending on that card? Because that's the only way. Like,
I don't understand how you lose $1 billion with a credit card, but they did. In fact, Goldman had never done consumer banking.
That was the problem. And then from what I understand, like American Express. I mean, this is from reporting that the Wall Street Journal and others have done over the past few years. The terms that Apple wanted were very advantageous for Apple, not necessarily advantageous for Goldman Sachs. And Goldman Sachs, who had never done consumer before and has now exited consumer entirely, except for the Apple Card deal, which they desperately want to get out of. The problem is that like, if you go to Chase or if you go to, Citi or if you go to American Express, which is the obvious partner for Apple, they are not going to give Apple the same terms that Goldman Sachs did.
Yeah, I'd like to point out the layers of irony in that they didn't understand the disfavorable terms of doing a credit deal with the larger and more powerful entity. Shocking.
I wonder what the deal is with Visa and X, You got to think X really wanted this, but on the other hand, maybe because of the political climate, it was Visa said, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing.
I think they've been working on that for like over a year. So there've been reportings about that. So I don't know. I mean, and who knows like what the terms are there. I mean, I don't know how demonstrably different it is than like when Jack Dorsey owned Twitter and, like there was kind of the Square integration, and then Square obviously, has some ways.
Well, now the good news is Elon can debank people. He has some more power if you bank with X.
Are you really debanked if you just have like a Visa pass through?
Yeah, really. I mean, I can't use X to send my buddy money. Oh well. Linda Yaccarino, the CEO of Twitter, Xing? What is she posting? She's Zeeting? Another milestone for the Everything app. Visa is our first partner for the X Money account, which will debut later this year. First of many big announcements about X Money this year. LFG, which is code for let's freaking get it. I don't know. X Money does have an account. It has 192,000 followers. For all your money moves, powered by X.
I'm so tired.
All right. I don't, it's hard. I don't want to get into politics, and yet Elon is a tech mogul, and he's certainly embedded in the government at this point. DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, we had the story last week that was really just taking over for USDS, which is the United States Digital Service, which was started by Silicon Valley people, including our friend Matt Cutts, who ran it for a while. He was the director, to help the government after the failure of the ACA website, to help the government modernize its technology. Goodness knows that's a good thing. But now I'm thinking he's more than just a Doge. thousands of U.S. government web pages have been taken down since Friday. 8,000, according to the New York Times, across more than a dozen U.S. government websites have gone down, disappeared. In fact, you can go to GitHub and watch them disappear in some cases.
I think it's just confusing for people here too. It's just like, even if you don't like the stuff said on it, it's confusing. It just in general.
Right. I think that's the point.
Yeah, and I think one thing too though is I was surprised that Vivek lasted less long than Elon at Doge. I would not have bet money on that at all. That's like this whole weird
I totally
dynamic
would have.
there.
This is you could see this 10 miles away. He had no power.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
Elon in the long run,
Yeah,
because he's the richest man in the world.
Friends.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted him out. Like, they never wanted him. Look, I mean, just like the inside baseball of DC, they didn't want him for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I don't get how he
I know
got
you're
it.
in DC. I don't mean to talk down to you.
No,
but
no,
just
no.
like,
It was a weird one because I didn't get how he got there in the first place. And then I'm like, all right, I guess he's there. So, and then when he went away, I'm like, all right.
It's cronyism.
yeah.
But cronyism only goes so far, right? So somebody's saying, oh, all the pages that were removed were DEI pages. Well, more than 3,000 pages from the Centers for Disease
Passport
Control,
Service.
including 1,000 research articles filed under preventing chronic disease, STD treatment, guidelines about Alzheimer's warning signs, overdose prevention training, vaccine guidelines for pregnant people. The Times hypothesizes that perhaps the words pregnant people could have contributed to its removal.
Oh, that makes sense.
Really?
I mean, maybe they just did like a find and delete, and then just it went broader. Like, that's kind of like what this is striking me.
It feels a little overbroad, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it is not uncommon when new administrations take over that like the old website will go down and that you might have 404s and whatnot. I think it's just the breadth of the number of pages. Like, because typically what happens, I mean, I think what the Biden administration did was that they would like create like old.whitehouse.gov and then that would, live on for government transparency reasons, which is a good thing. And instead, it seems like you were now just left with a bunch of 404s and no real idea if any of these pages will return, whether pregnant people has been replaced with the language that they prefer or not. I don't know.
I mean, I can go on and on. Read the New York Times article. It's 8,000 pages. Maybe it's an accident. I don't know. The Musk aides have locked workers out of the Office of Personnel Management computer systems. Musk's aides, some of whom are as young as 19 years old, have access to the database, which contains personal information for millions of federal employees, including social security numbers, dates of birth, home addresses, pay grades, length of service. This is a quote from Reuters, who talked to one of the OPM officials. They talked to two OPM officials who spoke to Reuters on condition of anonymity, said some career employees at OPM have had their access removed. We have no visibility into what they're doing with the computer and data systems. That's creating great concern. There's no oversight. It creates real cybersecurity and hacking implications. Remember, OPM was hacked.
Yes.
And millions of government records were released some time ago, some years ago.
Totally.
I mean, the government's just hacked all the time. When I did my age verification thing, I'm like, hey guys, like, careful.
Do you really want to give your personal information to the government? Yeah.
Yeah, because like it can't manage it well.
It is hacked all the time.
All
like
the time.
so much.
Yeah.
So,
like
I mean,
all
in
the
that
time.
regard, I would love it if Doge came in with some smart technology people and helped them lock the systems down and so forth. I have learned that
Better cyber is good.
that CISA employees are exempt from the request to resign. So that's good news.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have expected that because he's had a lot of issues with CISA and the stuff they've been doing. That actually really surprises me.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to get any information about any of this stuff, by the way. This comes to me from a friend who is works for the DOD, who said, yeah, CISA was exempt. Many government officials are locked out of the Office of Personnel Management. While meanwhile, Doge employees who were, basically not elected, just chosen by Musk, have full access. This is from Yahoo Tech, from Mashable, I guess. It's in Yahoo Tech. That Musk employees have embedded themselves deep within the agency since January 20th. Doge has morphed from a non-government advisory panel to the rebranded tech unit inside the White House. According to the report, the team set up sofa beds in the OPM director's office to work around the clock, securing access to the Enterprise Human Resources Integration database. That's got
I don't know why he likes sleeping in the office so much. Like, I just
he
don't.
He loves that.
It's a thing he likes. I just don't get it. I'm like, it sucks.
Musk's jet has not left D.C. since inauguration. He's there. He's embedded. The highest-ranking career official at the Treasury Department on Friday resigned after refusing to grant Musk's operatives access to the government's entire payment system, responsible for $6 trillion in payroll annually. So, behind the scenes, there is this move into government. With access to these systems, Mashable writes, Musk could bypass legal hurdles and potentially shut off funding for social programs opposed by him and Trump, further expanding his grip on federal operations. So I guess, this is how you cut $2 billion from the federal budget. More than, the pages, the number of pages, the variety of pages. They even pulled down a video entitled, Here's How to Avoid IRS Penalties and Interest. And the form private schools have to submit to certify they've not engaged in all racially discriminating behavior. There you go. 24 research notifications from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. But they were all just from the year 2000, so it seems kind of random. I guess there's nothing more to say. It's just happening, right? We're watching it happen in real time. Google has decided to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. It's also going to rename Denali to Mount McKinley, its old name. These are two things the president requested in an executive order. And, of course, the executive order changes this with the, what is it? It's called the Commission on Geography. Let me find the name. But there is a official United States Geographic Commission, and they name the names. But Google says it's only going to change the name for people in the United States looking at the maps. If you're in Mexico, it'll still say the Gulf of Mexico. Google says we have a long-standing practice of applying name changes when they've been updated in official government sources. So the Geographic Names Information System, or GNIS, has changed it to the Gulf of America. So Google says, okay, that's fine. Then we'll change our maps. Apple has not yet changed its map.
Good for them.
Yeah. You can name it whatever you want, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm used to the Gulf of Mexico. I don't think it's an insult to the United States.
As long as you put it in parentheses, right? So that we all know what we're searching for.
Yeah.
It shows how interrelated our chains of information and services are. And whether Google wants to or doesn't want to make this chain, if they're saying it is because of a policy change that they rely on, it just demonstrates that one policy change upstream can have some pretty significant effects.
By the way, somebody in our YouTube says, I love the guy in the attic critiquing the wealthiest man in the world. Yeah, I got nothing to say. He's the wealthiest man. He must be the best man in the world if he's the wealthiest, right?
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
That's how it works. Of course, we reward him for being the best.
Right.
It wasn't a Nazi. for years have, of course, gotten hate mail from people on the right saying you're just a libtard and stuff like that, which is fine. I understand that. I am now getting hate mail from people on the left saying,
"Oh, that's funny.
Why didn't you call out Elon's Nazi salute?" You can't. I don't know. I know it's not. I don't. Whatever.
It's always been the same for me for years, maybe at least for the last 10 years. People always say I'm a right-wing nut job or
You're not,
I'm super
though.
liberal. Both.
No.
I get both. And I'm just like,
You get both. Yeah.
yeah, I'm like, whoever is being stupid, I'll say they're being stupid. We might disagree on what stupid is, but like, I know some stuff.
Our street is typically thought of as a conservative thing, not a right-wing, but conservative think tank.
Yeah,
Right?
more center right than anything.
Center
We're-
right. Yeah.
Yeah, we do right stuff. We do center stuff, whatever makes sense. But we're about being free market. So markets guide our thinking. Like wherever, when government does stuff where it doesn't create the right incentives, we just remind people like, hey, markets are good incentives. And when you can create markets for something and encourage competition, it usually works out better. Stuff like that.
You write about age verification. You actually wrote the article a couple of years ago about why age verification systems are inevitably a bad idea. Any update on that? Because we're starting to see it. Certainly the UK now requires it.
Oh my gosh, there's a new model for App Store age verification that the porn companies are like cool with because they don't have to do it. There's no porn in app stores. And I'm like,
Right,
so
right.
all these companies are like, oh, you know what? If you want to stop kids from watching porn, verify in app stores. There is no Pornhub app. Like, it's ridiculous.
They just want to pass the buck, right? They say,
Right,
well,
right,
it's the
exactly,
App
yes.
Store's job. They do make the point the App Store might have a better idea of what your age is.
Yeah, but it all comes down to the same problems because when you say, you have to, these bills all say you have to have parental consent to download any app. Well, social security numbers don't even tie you together that way. Like you would probably need like a birth certificate to prove the parent's the parent and the child's the child. Parents don't always have the same last name as their kids. There's all different issues. And like, if it's to mean anything, it probably would have to be a birth certificate, birth certificates. Otherwise, your 19-year-old sister could say, oh, I'm the parent. And like you at 16 get to do whatever you want and have that verified. And the worst part is these bills like don't serve a purpose. You can already do this with your phones if you want. Say if you're getting, come here and like connect your phones and then verify and then say without putting in your most sensitive information and then say, okay, I have to approve everything you do. But instead of doing that, we're forcing the government to force like privacy violation and First Amendment issues to do that. And I'm like, hey guys, still not winning it. Still some issues here. You're going to end up back in court. And like, they just don't want to hear it.
Yeah. I'm in favor of giving parents control. The parent knows not the age of the kid, but the emotional age, the capabilities of the kid. Who better than a parent to decide what a kid should and should not see?
Oh yeah. They just
So put parental controls in. That's appropriate.
They already have them though. They just don't know how to use them and haven't. And I get that some of it gets a little bit confusing, but what these bills are requiring is already there, and parents just are sometimes using them and sometimes not. And then these bills just reinvent the wheel with security and First Amendment issues. But it's the do something. And like Utah has one of these bills, and I'm like, hey buddy, like I love the sponsor. He's a really great guy. But I'm like, dude, come on, talk to me first sometimes. Like, let me walk you through all.
You're talking about Mike Lee?
No, different one. I also made clear to other offices, but with Todd Weiler in Utah, he's fun. He's a bit of a firebrand, but he really does try to solve problems. And he keeps doing porn age verification bills over social media ones, but like, I don't think he understands like the problems he's running into with the way he's doing it. And I just wish he would talk to me.
I imagine you get to brief members of Congress. Yes?
Oh yeah, sometimes their staff too. Some members.
Or talk to the staff. Yeah, the staff is kind of who talks to the member, right? And you talk to the staff generally.
Yeah, sometimes the members too, depending on like if they vibe. There are some members who vibe really well with me, but then other members are like staff,
Right. I hope they listen. I mean, Christina was earlier complaining about the lack of, technical sophistication in members of Congress. They're smart people. They didn't get there by being morons, well, except for Lauren Boebert. But I had to do that. But sorry. Generally, I think they're intelligent, and they need staff to explain stuff, and they need to listen and understand the technical issues. Sometimes it's easier politically just to say, well, I know there are technical issues, but we're not.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to address. I think that's mostly what's happening, isn't it? It's
that, and it's also, I'll give staff this, like, they have to cover so many issues. Like, no matter where you are, you just have to cover so many kinds of things, and it's impossible to know them all well, which is part of the reason overall I want government to do less so it can focus on the things it needs to do. There's other problems with, like, and this isn't to, like, get on a soapbox about it, but it's interesting. I've been running into this a lot lately. One of the problems with having government do a lot of things is it never budgets enough for enforcement because it's impossible to enforce everything. And we need to pick and choose what we want to enforce wisely to make sure the right stuff's enforced. And like laws against hair braiding are like not a priority, you know, for government that they can selectively enforce. But in Congress, it's a lot of showboating. It's a lot of like trying to do something, even if it's not the exact right thing. Just hating tech companies was and still is a thing a bit. But there's just a lot of bad incentives here, and including the like staff not having, you know, all the time they need to really dive into these issues well.
Yeah. rstreet.org. No, conscripting the app stores doesn't solve the problems with age verification. Josh Withrow and our own Shoshana Weissman. Thank you, Shoshana.
Thank you.
Let's take a little break. More to come. We're going to wrap this up pretty quick. We're getting to Grammy Award time. How soon before the Grammys start?
15 minutes.
Oh, my God. Last time you were on, I let you go early so you could go see Tay-Tay's last show. Was it amazing?
It was amazing. It was so fun. I had the best time.
I'm so glad you got to see that. The last show in the Eras tour. Wow. Was it tearful at the end?
It was kind of like, I was still so jet lagged from being in South Korea, like 20 hours earlier that it was all blur, but no, it was really amazing. It was so cool to be there with so many, you know,
real fans. I mean, anybody who's there is a serious fan, right? That's a very really cool. Special ticket. Yeah.
It was really cool.
I'm glad that we could do that. You don't mind missing the opening act on
not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. No, we're good.
Taylor won't be on for the first hour. You know that.
No. Her red carpet look just debuted. She is in a short red dress.
Woo!
Looks really good.
Is it sparkly?
A little bit, but it's very different from what she usually wears. It looks good. It looks good.
All right. I'm going to give everybody a moment to go search your socials for Taylor Swift's red carpet dress while I tell you about our sponsor for this segment of Twit, Delete Me. Now, this is something you might want to know about. Absent a comprehensive privacy law in the U.S. government, we're going to need to rely on ourselves to protect yourself from getting your stuff online. Have you ever searched for your name online? Please don't. It's really kind of shocking the amount of personal data that is easily available to anybody who searches online. And then for a few bucks, they can get even more personal. But here's the good news. The law does require data brokers to delete your record if you ask them. You know where all 1,000 data brokers live, and you know about the new ones that spring up every day? No, but Delete Me does. What I love about it, and browse around because they have personal plans, they have family plans, which is really cool, and they also have corporate plans. And I would submit that this is a must for any business. We learned that lesson the hard way. Our CEO was impersonated in text messages to her direct reports saying, I'm in a meeting right now. Could you buy 20 Amazon gift cards and email them off to this address? Now, fortunately, our employees are smart, but it opened my eyes because this was a very targeted spear phishing attack. They knew Lisa's name. They knew her phone number. They were able to impersonate it. They knew her direct reports. They knew their phone numbers. They knew their name. They had so much information. Where'd they get it? Online. We immediately signed up for Delete Me to protect Lisa. You might want to do it for your family. With a Delete Me family plan, you can ensure everyone in the family feels safe online. Delete Me works not just to delete that stuff, but to protect you from identity theft, from cybersecurity threats, from harassment, spear phishing, attacking, and more. It really works. In fact, when the National Public Data Broker breach happened, Steve Gibson and I both searched and found our social security numbers along with hundreds of millions of other people in the database. We searched for Lisa's information. It wasn't there. And I realized, it was deleted. Delete Me's experts will find and remove your information from hundreds of data brokers. You can assign, if you're doing the family plan or a corporate plan, you can assign a unique data sheet to each family member tailored to them. Easy to use controls mean account owners can manage privacy settings for the whole family, the whole company. Now, here's the best part. Delete Me will, yes, delete it initially, but then they will continue to scan and remove your information regularly, even from new data brokers who spring up. And they spring up all the time because this is an insanely profitable business. Delete Me will remove addresses, photos, emails, relatives, phone numbers, social media, property value, and more. They'll scrub it, they'll clean it, and they'll keep it clean. And it really works. I know it does because we do it. Protect yourself, reclaim your privacy by visiting joindeleteme.com/twit. The offer code is TWIT. That's joindeleteme.com/twit. And do use the offer code TWIT. You'll get 20% off all privacy plans at checkout. That's a good deal. Joindeleteme.com/twit. It does work. I know for a fact. It was kind of a shocker when I found my social and Steve's social online. And Lisa, Lisa who? We don't know. We don't know that person. Wow. On we go with a stunning, exciting, thrilling, gripping edition of This Week in Tech. Let's see. Comcast is embracing a new technology from the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force, the L4S standard. It's a little geeky, but this is good news. Comcast is the biggest ISP in the United States, and it's expected that Comcast adopting it will encourage other ISPs to adopt it. It's ultra low lag, particularly useful for what we're doing right now, Zoom calls, gaming. Engadget describes it this way. If a packet traveling between your device and the server experiences congestion, it will report that on arrival, which can improve future packets' journeys. Sounds very cooperative. Products from Apple, Meta, NVIDIA, and Valve are the first to support the technology. They were initial partners for testing the low latency connectivity. You can see why gaming companies would do this.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Comcast, other developers can choose to take advantage of the open standard once Comcast has fully rolled it out. It will be available to all of Xfinity customers at that point. Right now, it's a pilot program in Atlanta, Chicago, Colorado Springs, Philadelphia, Rockville, Maryland, and San Francisco. I hope I counted San Francisco. We're about an hour north.
Is Comcast your ISP or are you with someone else?
They are. They are. Where I have a Comcast business account. That's what I'm talking to you now. And I have a fallback with Starlink. So there's because Comcast comes and goes sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
And when it does, in 10 seconds, the Ubiquity stuff will go, there's no internet, and it'll go up to the satellite, and I'll come back. And that's worked pretty well. We've used that a couple of times. Comcast is also rolling out DOCSIS 4 in the next, probably this year, at least in our area, which will greatly improve upstream bandwidth as well. So while I am not a fan of Comcast, I wouldn't qualify as a fan.
I mean, I don't think anyone would qualify as a fan.
It's nice to hear that they're adopting the new technology. That's great.
No, that is cool. It's good to see that they're pushing things forward, and it's probably because they face competition from various fiber providers increasingly, but of course that's the thing about the United States that's hard, I think, for people who don't live here to understand. Very few of us get to choose who our internet service provider is. So,
wow,
that's cool.
I'm sorry. I was looking at Taylor Swift's red dress.
Yes, it's good, right? It's good.
Wow, and she's got a little T on her whatever. What do you call jewelry that suspends from the bottom of your dress? Well, I know that's a thigh. I don't know. But
I have no idea what you would call that, but it's
thigh jewelry.
Yeah, I guess so.
So the T is for thigh, not Taylor.
Or Travis, I guess. It's I think that's the thought, that it's Travis, because
it's Travis, it's not Tay-Tay.
It's Chiefs Red.
Wow. It is Chiefs Red.
Is she Christian? I don't know.
It looks like a cross.
Yeah, I was going to say, is
she's worn crosses before. Yeah, I think she's.
Is it maybe it's all three. It's like all.
It's all three.
Holy Trinity.
Travis, Taylor, and the big J. Yeah. Yeah, see, right there. It says, page 6 says, Taylor Swift wears Chiefs Red on the Grammy carpet. All right. Ahead of the Super Bowl. Yeah, her boy's gonna be in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. It's so funny because I follow the NFL on Reddit, and they post how much airtime Taylor gets compared to Travis. It's been going down, though. I think that the broadcasters have kind of gotten over that. They're kind of.
I think like last year, I think it was a much bigger deal, and I think this year they're like, okay, yeah, she's another wag, but yeah,
it's good for the NFL. I gotta say, it's good for the NFL. Yeah.
Well, and look, I have to say, usually her clothing choices, I'm not a fan of, and I can't blame. I can't blame the stylist. I think at a certain point we have to go, it's not the stylist's fault.
It's but Taylor's fault? You think she has bad taste?
I mean, look, no one is perfect, but I will say that her street style looks at his games have been so good. And I'm like,
I thought so.
God, yeah. I'm like, God, why can't you dress like this when you go to award shows sometimes? And I haven't been able to look.
I like the little top hat circus ringmaster outfit. That's cute. Does she wear that? That's really old.
I like it. It's like old style circuit. I'm here for that. I like 30s, 40s influences. No, I'm the only one.
Oh, I like that too. No, I think sometimes it can look good, but sometimes like when I look at her Grammy look from last year, which was not good.
That was a weird look. Yeah.
She had like this like, black armed
and the stuff she wears to the VMAs is really terrible. Yeah.
She's mixed, but the street style has been very good, especially with the football games. I have a
feeling
like
here is thanks to Vogue. Every Taylor Swift. I searched for Taylor Swift NFL fits and found this article. All of the stuff.
Perfect.
That's cute.
Yeah,
love that.
That's very cute. Yeah, that's good.
By the way, that's her mom. That's so cute.
That's Travis's mom.
That's Travis's mom.
That's Travis's
looks just
mom,
like Taylor's mom. Okay.
They look similar. Yeah.
Yeah. And who's that? I don't know. We don't know.
Some bodyguard.
Some bodyguard. Okay, that's interesting. Plaid sundress. Interesting combo. The big T-shirt. Always a good look at an NFL game. Yep. Does she ever paint herself red and white? And no. All right. I don't know. I got distracted. How many of you have given your spit to 23andMe?
No.
Different company, but I've spread.
You've donated your spit?
Yeah, I've spread my spit around. I have a lot of medical tests, so any bodily fluid I have has gone somewhere.
See, but you have a legitimate reason.
Yeah.
That's for your health. I just thought it'd be fun to know if I have any Irish in me. So, but now apparently your spit is for sale.
Yeah. See, this was my fear with all of this. This is why I've never did 23andMe or Ancestry or those. And I'm very curious. Well, it doesn't really matter because my relatives did. So, they can create genomes based on me anyway. Thanks, Uncle George. Really appreciate it. But 23andMe is about to go bankrupt, right? Isn't that the thing? Or
yeah, they're in trouble and they are seeking perhaps a buyer. And of course, what would you be buying? Not the failing genetic testing company. You'd be buying
that data.
The data. The vials of spit. I don't know why they're struggling so much. Maybe people are more privacy concerned than I thought. 23andMe's stock, which fell 82% last year, dropped another 10% and was briefly halted this week.
Ooh, that's bad.
That's not good. No. Founded in 2006 by one of the Wojcicki's, Ann Wojcicki.
Yep. Yeah, this is kind of a story of a more optimistic age of the internet. It doesn't seem that long ago, but the inception of this company and their peers was really just, we thought about things much differently, including social media. And it's just kind of the sad outcome of what could have been a really transformative company.
I know. Well, and I actually have donated my spit to other genetic companies, not Ancestry.com, but I interviewed George Church, who was like the father of genomics a couple of years ago on triangulation. Fascinating guy. And he has a company that, unlike 23andMe, which does a statistical analysis of part of your genome, he has a company that does the whole genome. In fact, you can download, I did, my genome. It's many gigabytes worth of data. The value of that is you now have your genome, which you could send to other places for analysis. You could say, well, am I likely to have breast cancer? Or, what's my likelihood of being an addict or something like that? So while I did 23andMe, I was underwhelmed. Maybe this is the problem. They also had a breach last year, or 2023, more than a year ago, of 7 million customers. They had to pay a $30 million settlement on that. In September, the entire board quit.
The entire board quit, right? Yeah, I remember that. That was wild.
Yeah. That's usually a bad sign. That and getting delisted. Those are kind of bad signs. Mm-hmm. The company said this week it's exploring strategic alternatives, including perhaps a sale.
I'm just surprised they can't use AI to do stuff with, because I would think that AI would be good at discovering what genetic factors and what things in your genetics can cause different diseases. I thought that's when I signed up. I forgot if it was that or another company. That's what I thought I was getting. Do I have markers for this disease or that disease or whatever? And now in the age of AI, we can do that. And I don't know why they're not.
That's why I did the Nebula Genomics thing, because that was a full genome, which you can download, and whether they eventually know, that stuff or somebody else does, you have your genome. So now you can send it out, and that's not going to change. So it's whole genome sequencing. It wasn't cheap, but it's not. Originally it was tens of thousands of dollars. I think it's gotten much more affordable. As the technology has improved, but it wasn't completely cheap. Let me just see, and it's still spit, I believe. Oh yeah, not awful. The elite package is $1,000. That does your whole thing. And then I think that's the one I did. I don't know what it was. $1,000 poorly spent, since I don't really know what I got. But I have my genome. Anybody wants it? I should just send it to the AI in the cloud and see what they say. I agree with you. I think AI could, because here's the thing: we don't really know a lot about what it says, right? There's some markers like the BRCA marker for breast cancer that you could look for,
right?
But they're not. We don't know a whole lot. Guess more all the time.
When you say $1,000, it sounds like a lot of money, except when you think about all of those things that maybe we want AI to do with our our DNA. And so then I think, well, maybe, if I don't know what the business application is, if there's a B2B, but if they're targeting consumers, $1,000 is a lot of money. What is there a market of people who are going to pay 20 or 40 or $100? Maybe, but does that make a business that scales? Probably, at least this business, maybe not. I think there's a lot of overhead. So maybe their model is just targeting consumers with something consumers can't afford or don't want to pay that much money for.
I noticed that I just logged in and they want me to change my password and they want me to add 2FA here at the Nebula. So I'm wondering, it's good. They're focused on security. Right? But I'm wondering why.
After they got hacked.
Yeah. It always makes me nervous. Hey, you want to change your password? Just for no reason.
No reason.
Just saying.
Pwned.com.
Just
exactly.
saying.
We just think this is a good idea, so we're just going to require that you change it because we've deleted everything because we can't save anything. Yeah. And better.
Well, that's the thing. When you give somebody, they have my full Now, somebody said, okay, by the way, when George had done this originally, he did it as a project. I remember it was very expensive. I applied. He was doing it, I think, at Harvard. It was called the Personal Genome Project. And I remember Esther Dyson did it. And she said, I'm going to do it because I'm at an age and stage in my life where I don't care if it gets out. Because one of the things the Personal Genome Project said is, we are not going to protect this. The whole point of this is we could take these genomes and give them to researchers so they can use them to learn and find out more stuff. So you do this whole big questionnaire and you do the genome. And I applied. I really wanted to do it. They didn't accept me. But I remember it was $10,000, $15,000. It was very expensive. So $1,000 seemed reasonable. But now I'm going to quickly change my password if you don't mind. Streaming prices. Wow, Netflix just raised their price.
Yep.
Streaming prices climb in 2025. They already surpass inflation rates. 5 services increased their prices this month. Well, last month, I guess now in January. Do you notice that the prices are going up of the stuff you want to watch on TV?
Yeah, I mean, Netflix just went up to $25 a month if you want to have 4K, which is annoying to me because I do want to have 4K. Yes. I don't really care about the number of devices I have active, but and the thing is that like their ads, from what I understand, are fairly, not.
Yeah, I don't want ads.
I mean, I don't either, but if you gave me the option where you were like, okay, if you pay, $10 a month and you get 4K with ads, I might consider it because I don't watch a ton of Netflix. But no, I mean, they've gone up and I have some sort of grandfathered in Disney bundle deal that Verizon still pays for most of, and American Express pays for the remainder. What's interesting though, I don't think this will ever work with the big services, but with the smaller ones. So Stars had announced, I guess back in like October or November, they announced their quarterly results and they showed that they'd shed users. And I guess that was a problem for Lionsgate or whoever owns them. And I was paying, I don't know, maybe $60, $70 a year. And I don't watch Stars that much, although there are a couple of shows on there that I like. And I went in just out of curiosity to like see like what my plan was. And first I was offered a deal where they gave me like a really good deal where they're like, oh, we'll give you like a 6-month thing or whatever. And I was like, cool, I'll do that. And then I did that and I got another deal to get it even cheaper for like a year. So they were actively trying to, I guess, prevent me from canceling or whatnot. And it'll be interesting to see if other streamers will do that sort of thing, where, if you either threaten to cancel your account or change your subscription, they'll be like, oh no, please don't leave,
Somebody pointed out, Knox Harrington in our Discord, that it really looks like the plan for these companies is to just get rid of ad-free streaming, to not only increase the cost, but to force you to watch ads. Hulu just did that to me. I paid $99 for a year. I thought, I won't have any ads. Now I can't get rid of them. It's becoming more expensive to avoid ads on streaming services. Mm-hmm. The prices are going up for ad-supported. Are they double dipping, or is it really that expensive? I don't know.
I mean, I think that it's the realization that their business model that they predicated on never worked out. Yeah,
Hulu
I mean, I think that's
now
really
charges $19 for an ad. So for the cheapest ad-free video streaming plan. That's why my $99 didn't go very far.
That's ridiculous. $20 a month for Hulu is too much.
Well, that's the next question: is at what point do people start canceling? Ars Technica quotes a digital media trends report from Deloitte that said almost half of U.S. consumers said they'd cancel their favorite streaming video service if the price went up by $5. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? It is. Let's see if they really do.
And I think a lot of them will. What we've seen happen is it's churn, right? So you might not stay subscribed the whole year, right? Maybe you'll forego that year-long bundle if you're like, no, you know what? I only need to watch the shows these months out of the year. And as live becomes increasingly less important, like we have events like the Grammys and the Super Bowl, but other than that, you're like, okay, you know what? I can dip in and out and I can catch up on what I missed before.
Yeah.
I think all the streamers kind of realize that it's a zero-sum game and it's a race to the bottom. There will be some winners and there will be losers, and mostly there will be losers because the cost is exceptionally high. This was a bad bet by most of the video companies. At least that's the kind of conventional wisdom right now. I don't watch much. I don't subscribe to anything other than YouTube TV, but occasionally
which has also gone up
on like Severance or whatever.
God, I know. I pay almost. It's cable cost. It's almost $100. It's like $83 a month.
It is. which is still cheaper than cable. I was paying a ridiculous amount of money when I finally canceled cable, and I also have YouTube TV, but still, I think that they all made a mistake when they shifted to do ad-free the way they did ad-free. I think that if they had maybe, tempered into things, then they wouldn't have
YouTube TV started at $35 a month.
Yep. And now it's like 85.
It's 85. Now, is that because the local channels are gouging YouTube over the top streamers like YouTube? Fubo's raised its price. Everybody's raised its prices.
Some of it is probably that.
Sling?
Sling has gone up. Well, Sling has had some more limited offerings too. Hulu Live TV has gone up. Direct TV Now or whatever it's called. Yeah. So I mean, part of it is probably that.
It seems self-defeating because in the long run, what's going to happen? People are just going to watch YouTube. Not YouTube TV, but just YouTube.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I mean. I don't pay for YouTube TV. I don't watch things. Like I will watch a specific thing, but I pay to not have ads on YouTube.
Yeah.
But there is almost no circumstance I'm going to sit down and say, what am I going to watch? Let me browse for something and then watch it. No. I'm going to read a book or I'm going to get away from a screen if possible. But I was at a streamer. I was at CBS for a very long time when it went from CBS All Access, and we were there during the Paramount Plus transition. And I was at CBSN for a very long time. I mean, the network too. But CBSN was like the first streaming news platform, and I saw all of the economics, at least when it came to the news business, and that was a losing game for news too. I mean, I love it. I love CBSN. I love NBC News Now, but those are not winners. And I mean, the consumers have voted, and they don't want streaming as it is right now. At least it's
too expensive and too little value for that.
Right. Yeah, exactly that. Yep.
Yeah. Let's take one last break. I got to get this one last ad in, and then we'll wrap things up with a fabulous panel. Dan Patterson, it's always great to see you. Blackbird
You too.
AI. You're the director of content. What does Blackbird AI do? What is it? What are you talking? What are you doing here?
So I think visit compass.blackbird.ai. I mean, really, this is, I don't want to call this fact checker. We're not going to call it a fact checker. It is a context checker. Oh, okay. I mean, I'm happy to plug. Yeah, plug. But I mean, I don't want to call this a fact checker, but sign up at compass.blackbird.ai. This will check claims. When you see nonsense on the web, when you see a ridiculous claim, whether it's on a social media site, you can paste in a link. If you see something on Reddit, if your neighbor tells you that the sky is purple, put a claim into Compass. If you see an image and you think it's a deepfake, put the image in there. It will give you not just yes or no, up or down. It will give you a ton of context, a really interesting context that is useful and important and almost always accurate. So,
let's see. Is Taylor Swift breaking up with Travis Kelce?
Yes, exactly. And in fact, we tracked many of what we call narrative attacks because we see them as analogous to cyber attacks. Yeah. And the narrative attacks targeting Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce last year. If you look at the Blackbird AI blog, which is where I spend a lot of my time with our analysts and our AI engineers, we published a ton of results about Taylor all through last year. And much of the conversation was manipulated media. And anytime you now have a question about if something is manipulated or authentic on the web, use Compass to check whether it's authentic.
I signed up for this last time you were on, and I forgot to use it. I got to use this more. That's great.
I really don't love the log roll, but this is AI that is in the public good. And I mean, I don't want to say fact check because, it's an LLM. Sometimes maybe a fact won't happen, but it's really accurate. I keep it bookmarked, and when I have questions about what I see on the web, I use Compass.
Verify the authenticity of an image. This is great. And there is an API, so you could, in theory, add this to your existing stack. That's great.
Yeah, we have it. I think maybe we're working on Discord integration. We have it in our company Slack, and if you, I mean, it's just rolling all day long. People posting what claims that they see. So Slack integration.
What models are you using?
It's our model.
It's your own.
It's all right. Yeah.
It's not an existing LLM.
We used existing LLMs last year, but I think we're on our own models.
Nice. Very cool. Let me see if I can find an image from our Discord and see if it's real.
Yeah, definitely do that. So this, as me coming from like being a journalist for 2 decades and then like pivoting into tech, like this is a very natural place to be because we care about journalism. We care about information integrity.
Yeah, really good. It's great to have you, Dan. Thank you so much.
You too.
Tomorrow, Christina Warren will have a new job. Do you like go to the desk and there's like a new MacBook Pro sitting there and a little beanie with a propeller on it or anything like that? What do you get as a new employee?
I think it'll depend. I haven't received my new stuff yet, so that's going to be the interesting part. Is I don't have my corporate laptop yet, so I don't know.
What did Microsoft give you? What did GitHub give you? Did you have a nice?
I did, yeah. Microsoft, I don't really remember. I think I got, it was in person, which was now a throwback. And GitHub, yeah, I got a hoodie with my handle on it, and I got a bunch of other stuff. I got like a stuffed Octocat.
That's cool.
GitHub hooked me up.
That's really cool.
And as far as the new place, TBD, we will see. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll get some new merch.
Oh, I can't wait to see.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I'll be excited.
Good luck. That's wonderful. You deserve the best. We're always thrilled to have you on, and I hope that you can continue to be a regular on our shows. I would be sad to lose you. Also, Shoshana Weissman, rstreet.org, where she's head of digital media. And are you gonna end your association with the Sloth Committee and start up with the Marmot Committee, or is it just a joint venture?
I think it's a joint venture. Okay. They're both they're actually very different animals.
They're both rodents, aren't they, or no?
No. Sloths aren't rodents, but they do both have faces of babies. And I feel like that's faces. A thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like my feminine nurturing side, being attracted to sloths.
So you'd prefer alpaca, for instance, to llamas because they're cuter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guanacos are great.
They're very cute. Yeah.
I like them, but marmots, you just want to hold them. You want to nurture them.
Especially the yellow-bellied marmot.
They're so cute.
rstreet.org. Read her writings. Always good stuff. Our show today brought to you by Zscaler. I love these guys because I love the idea of zero trust. That's the way to protect yourselves. They are the leader in cloud security. Over the years, enterprises have spent billions of dollars on perimeter defenses, firewalls, and then, of course, you got to have a VPN to let people in. But breaches, they're not going down. It's not working. 18% year-over-year increase in ransomware attacks in 2024, a record $75 million payout. And I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the amount people reported. It's got to be more, right? The fact is traditional security tools just aren't working. They expand your attack surface. They've got public-facing IPs that are just like candy to bad actors. And bad actors are now using AI tools to work better, smarter, come up with new attacks. And of course, if you're using a VPN, you're letting bad guys into your network, but you're not making sure that they are good guys in your network. So they're getting everything. And then they exfiltrate it out through the firewall because firewalls are struggling to inspect the encrypted traffic. They can't really see it. So everything's getting exfiltrated. And the firewalls and VPNs allow lateral movement. I mean, once you're connected to the network, you can wander anywhere, find everything you want, encrypt it, send it out. People are really unable to stop this stuff. Hackers exploit traditional security infrastructure, and they're using AI to outpace your defenses. You got to rethink your security. We can't let these guys win. They're innovating faster than we are. They're exploiting your defenses. That's why you need Zscaler, Zero Trust plus AI. It stops attackers. For one thing, it hides your attack surface. Your apps and your IPs are invisible. So there's no candy there hanging to be attacked. Plus, it eliminates lateral movement because once a user's in your network, they can only connect to specific apps, not the entire network. And every connection, every user is continuously verified, every request based on identity and context. It simplifies security management using AI-powered automation. And man, you need it because with 500 billion daily transactions monitored by Zscaler, you need AI to find those needles in the haystack, the actual threats, so that you can protect yourself. Hackers can't attack what they can't see. Protect your organization with Zscaler Zero Trust and AI. Learn more at zscaler.com/security. That's zscaler.com/security. We thank them so much for their support of the show. And you support, of course, the show by using that address. That way they know you saw it here. Zscaler.com/security. All right. Burke has submitted an image for me to test. Burke, you think this is a phony image? Let me go to blackbird.ai and see if I can validate that image.
Go to compass.blackbird.ai and click vision at the top.
Yeah, I'm at the vision page. Oh, I can't paste it though. I have to save it and then paste it. Well, I'll do it later. We don't know. Oh, you can even do batch. That's cool.
That's cool.
Really cool. All right, we got to get going because you got to watch the Grammys. How are you going to watch it? YouTube TV, Fubo,
YouTube
Sling?
TV.
Yeah,
YouTube TV. Yeah.
I'm recording it, so I can watch it anytime. Those things, I like to record those because I don't want to watch 8 minutes
Same.
of commercials after every break. So I record half an hour or an hour ahead of time, and then I skip the commercials.
And then
by
you
the
can
end,
sit through, which is nice. Well, and then what's great too, I'm still not used to being on the West Coast for award shows, even though it's been like 7 years now.
Yeah.
I will never be used to it. But the nice thing is that like they rerun them.
the Grammys, they show it twice, don't they?
Yeah, and the same thing
As
now with the
soon as it
Oscars and the Golden Globes or whatever. They'll just replay.
Do they do? They run it again? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh.
At least on the last few years, at least I don't know if the
Nice.
Oscars if they rerun it, but at least the other things
Nice.
like they'll because what else are they going to do? Like they used to always, I think what it used to be is they used to start them late, so West Coast would always get it delayed. But in the last 5 or 6 years, they've been like, oh no, we'll just broadcast them live everywhere. But that means that if you are on the West Coast, what are
it's
you going
too
to fill
early.
your
Yeah.
primetime feed for? So.
Right.
just
Benito,
rerun it.
are we, because next week's the Super Bowl, are we going to shift the time on Twit because of the Super Bowl next week?
That's the plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noon, right?
Yep.
So we're going to launch 2 hours earlier so that we can get everybody in and out before the beginning of the Super Bowl at 3 p.m. Pacific.
Smart.
So we'll do it at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern if you watch live. Super Bowl ads, $8 million this year for a 30-second commercial. Wow. And I've already seen a few previews. My son, who is a TikTok chef, he's kind of a budding celebrity chef, was invited to Katz Deli in New York City to watch the making of the Hellman's Mayonnaise Super Bowl commercial.
It's a good deli.
It's a great deli. He's friends with the owner now, and
Awesome.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna tell you, but just watch it because it recreates a classic film moment that was filmed at the Katz's Deli some years ago.
Oh, is this the one that already got?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, got it.
They're
That's
a little
awesome.
older now, but they're just as frisky. I guess would be the word. There will be a lot of AI ads. A lot. All the AI companies. This is what happens. I remember in 2000, all the .coms. I
Not the
remember
.com.
the first .com ad, which was it pets.com? I can't remember.
Yeah, the puppet.
Yeah. The dog. Yeah. Whatever happened to that? It's funny. The conventional wisdom was pets.com went out of business because it made no financial sense to ship kitty litter at great expense to people. So they went out of business. And now we buy our kitty litter online and it's
On
shipped
Amazon.
to us. Yeah.
Well, no, they were just too early. I think the problem
They were
then
just
back
too
then
early.
was they were too early. It was a lot of things. Like I remember there was Webvan. Remember them? They were like the grocery store kind of thing. And it's just
And now
they kinda
everybody's
just,
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just too early. And I think the bigger thing too was that rather than charging what it actually cost to do things, which everyone would have paid, they were like, oh no, we're going to be cheaper because it's the internet and we
Right.
have free money. And it was like, no.
Scale
we have this
first,
expectation.
profit
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
Or no, scale first and then like cut your prices if you're trying to do that. They
What
were
was the
being
company-
like, we'll be cheaper.
You were in Manhattan when this was around. They would deliver cigarettes and ice cream by bicycle.
Cosmo.
That's every company all the time.
Was it Cosmo?
It's Cosmo.com, I think is when you're thinking of.
Yeah.
I was, they were early. They were like, it was basically Postmates, but like 15 years before Postmates.
They were just ahead of it because it was a great idea.
It was. I used to have them delivered to, so I was actually in Atlanta. I was in high school and I used to have Cosmo deliver stuff to my school. I'm not even joking.
Oh,
I
that's
used to
funny.
get like deliveries from like DVDs
Pizza
and like
for
candy.
Spicoli. Pizza.
I mean, I had
Warren.
pizza delivered. I had pizza delivered too, but Cosmo was the one where I would get yelled at by the administrators. They'd be like, "Christina, you have to stop ordering DVDs to the front office." And I'm like,
"Oh my God!"
I'm like, but I can. Why?
Kozmo. Kozmo. Cosmo.com. Free 1 hour delivery of videos, games, DVDs, music, mags, books, food, basics, and more.
I got a number for that. I live in Brooklyn.
Cosmo,
Yeah.
they're gone. They're gone. They were bought by Yummy.com, who said, "Oh, we're going to relaunch soon," and then no. Eventually, they were relaunched as a warehouse club.
There's a documentary that is out of print that I don't know how to find it. It's been uploaded to YouTube a few times, but it's not available last time I checked it. It's called The E-Dreams, and it came out, I want to say, in like 2002 or 2003, and it's about the rise and fall of Cosmo, and it's really interesting.
One mistake they made, they agreed to pay Starbucks, this is in February 2000, $150 million to promote Cosmo in the coffee shops. They were guaranteed to go out of business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Again, the prices that I would pay as like a 16-year-old, I would like order. I'm not joking. I would like order from them in like, the year 2000, whatever. I would like be ordering my DVDs and, candy and whatever. And it would be cheaper than going to Best Buy or, the Mini Mart. And then it would be delivered to my high school. And I'm like, okay. You're going to charge me a fraction of the price. Why would I not?
Why not?
Again, the only trouble I got in was like the nice ladies at the front office were like annoyed. They were like, "We can't keep calling you to the office to get your packages. It's like, noon." I was like, "Well, but let them take it to the classroom."
The former co-founder and CEO of Cosmo now is president of BibleGateway.com.
Okay.
They sell Bibles. No comment. Super Bowl Sundays are very noisy. Apple Watch, as you know, will tell you if you are in a noisy environment. I leave that on. I think that's very useful.
I do too. It's great.
Yeah. I have mine set at 90 dB. Anything, any long exposure above 90 dB, you're going to have hearing loss. So they did a study, Apple Watch study, found that noise levels across America are significantly higher than normal for about 9 hours on Super Bowl Sunday, next Sunday. If you were in the stadium, of course, but I guess people have parties and they shout and they scream, and there'll be some Eagles fans and Kansas City fans making a lot of noise. Average noise levels 1.5 to 3 decibel louder during the past 4 Super Bowl games compared to levels on the Sunday following the game. It's a lot quieter now than it will be next week. A reminder, we will be starting a little early next week. Join us for Twit early, or do what most people do and subscribe. That way you can listen whenever you want. We stream, as I mentioned, on 8 different platforms, normally 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC of a Sunday. Again, we're going to start 2 hours earlier next week. You can always download a copy of the show from our website, twit.tv, or subscribe in your favorite podcast player, or watch us on YouTube TV. There's audio and video of the show. And of course, if you're a club member, special access behind the velvet rope. My deepest thanks to our panelists. Shoshana Weissman, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's always so much fun.
I always want to play Climb Every Mountain when you're on.
Working on it.
You're a mountain climber. That's so awesome. What's your next peak?
Thank you. So the next trip I have is coming up in May, and it's to do the high point of New Mexico, maybe a 14er, and then whatever else I can fit in.
Wow. So cool. Do you huff it up? You go fast, or you kind of slow
I'm
up?
extremely slow. I mean, I've had lead poisoning the most of my life, so now I'm hoping I get faster and stuff, but I'm slow. I train fast,
but you do it.
It's on a treadmill. Oh, yeah.
You do it. That's what matters.
And I'm getting faster. I'm getting a lot faster than I used to be. I pass like 3 years ago me easily. So it's getting better.
I'm a slow walker. I stroll. I think it's good to stroll. Life is happening fast enough. Stroll. That's my motto.
I like it. Your motto is stroll.
I'm stroll. Stroll. You know what? You gotta stop and smell the wombats, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Did you know they poop square poop?
Oh yeah, that's their thing. That's their big thing.
That's their thing. That's great. Everybody ought to have a thing. Thank you, Shoshana. Thank you, Dan Patterson. So great to see you as always. Yeah. Director Content, Blackbird.ai. Do that Blackbird thing. That is compass.blackbird.ai. That is so cool. Yeah. And that's free.
Yeah.
So cool. Thank you for doing your bit to make sure that disinformation gets destroyed.
Well, we like to call it a narrative attack.
No more narrative attacks. Thank you so much, Dan. And of course, Christina Warren, congratulations on the new gig. I love the new house. It's very attractive, very beautiful.
It is. It's good. It's a good look for me. I like the pink walls. I think that it has kind of a retro aesthetic at this point, kind of 60s, kind of 80s.
It's really cool. Yeah, I like it. And the carrot curtains in the kitchen. That's great.
Yeah, the corn. It's great.
Is that corn? Okay.
That's
corn, carrots. Yep. Whatever. It's a vegetable of some sort. Thank you, Christina. I can't wait to find out where you will land next. Is the best thing to do follow you film_girl or?
You can find me on Twitter, Mastodon. I have to still be on Twitter. Mastodon, Blue Sky, all those things.
Still film girl.
Yeah, film girl. And it's usually film_girl, but some of the networks don't like underscore, so it's just film girl, one word. But yep.
Is Blue Sky your preferred these days? Like everybody else?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of trying to post across them. I probably use Threads the least, but yeah, Blue Sky is definitely has the most vibes. But I still really love Mastodon. You know, I have a lot of good people there, so it kind of
I like kind
of varies.
Geeks.
Yeah,
I prefer hanging with geeks. Blue Sky's too much like old Twitter, which is why people love it. It's a double-edged sword. It's a good and a bad thing, but yeah. So Yep.
Still trying to figure them all out. I still resent the fact that we have to have 5 when we used to have 1, but it is what it is.
Well, I just post on my blog and let that post everywhere, and that seems to me the best way to do these things. Thank you to our esteemed producer and technical director, Benito Gonzalez. Appreciate the work you do. Benito's working on our theme song for Wednesday, the launch of Intelligent Machines. It's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday, or Wednesday, I should say. Well, Tuesday too, because I'll be here for MacBreak Weekly and Security Now, and then Wednesdays, Windows Weekly and Intelligent Machines. Every Sunday, it's Twit. Thanks to our club members for making this possible. Thanks to all of you for being here. We will see you next time. You know, this is our, I say this every time now, this is our 20th anniversary year. Amazing. April will be the 20th anniversary of the first Twit. Can you believe 20 years?
That makes me feel
crazy.
So old.
I've never done anything for that long.
That's wild.
Isn't that
because wild? I remember when you launched it, and that's bizarre. That's amazing. Congratulations. Seriously.
I don't know if it's congratulations or.
Oh, it is.
It's just inertia.
No, it is. no, it's congratulations. Like this is like you help pioneer a new medium and then see it go into all these other things and you're still doing it. And
I've been doing it long enough that it is not only no longer the new medium, it's kind of old school, kind of going downhill now. I jumped from radio to podcasting. I don't know what I'm going to have to do something. Maybe AI is the next thing. I don't know.
There you go.
Thank you, everybody. Great to see you. As I've been saying for 20 years, thanks for being here. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.
This is amazing.